Welcome to Highway to Helms in 3, 2, 1.
Another day, another dollar as I holler to the world. I love the way I'm living, love the Gucci, love the girls, love the parties and the clubs, love the models and hot tubs, love the German engineering set on deep dish dubs. Another tour around the world, entertaining the fans. I love walking through the airport, taking pictures, shaking hands. Every day for me's an oyster, crack it open, find a pearl. I love the way I'm living.
Boom! Welcome everybody to another episode of Highway to Helms. As you notice, Big Daddy Mike Maverick's not over here, but there's another Big Daddy in the house. Let me bring up the titles. As you can see, it's Stuttsy. Stuttsy. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Brad Stutts. And Stat Mark. He's got the mark part down pat.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I like that. That's pretty cool. These guys will be talking about a big event they got with the Carolina Wrestling Federation, CWF247.com. We'll get into that in a little bit. There's a couple other things we will be talking about throughout the entirety of the show, which will go on for 4 hours. Just kidding. But before we do that, let's talk about, as always, the people who sponsor this show and make this shit happen. No cussing on my show, motherfuckers. Figure4apps.com. They are the producers and the makers of the official Shane Helms app, the Shane event. Yeah, look at me. Look at me. I look jacked there. I wish I still looked like that. They also make the I'm a Wrestling Fan app. If you're a wrestler, a promoter, or just a fan, this is the app for you. Find out all the events coming to your area. It logs into the GPS on your phone. It will take you right to the door. We're thinking about adding a ticket purchasing feature to that where you can buy the tickets from the app too. But that's just in the works. Same concept for MMA fans as I'm a Fight Fan. Not just UFC, Bellator, but Dream, all the other. And there's a lot of independent promotions, to use a pro wrestling term, in MMA. And find out the ones near you. The same concept for NASCAR and Indy racing as I'm a Race Fan. Check out Hermie Sadler. He loves this app because the app is great. I'm a Comic-Con fan. You guys just were at a Comic-Con, so if you didn't know about it, you could have found it on this app. We always got to thank HighSpots.com. These guys are everywhere. If there's a wrestling show that's big, that's worth its weight in gold, HighSpots will be there. If you need DVDs, action figures, if you need tights, knee pads, if you need a wrestling ring, they'll be there. They do everything but provide the talent for a wrestling show, and actually, I think they got some guys on the roster too, so there they are, HighSpots.com. So what's going on, gentlemen?
Not much. Getting ready for Saturday. Like you said, we did the Comic-Con over the weekend. And
That Heroes Con in Charlotte,
yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah, good time. Very, like, that's really more like Grant's area. I know you're a big comic guy, too. I just kind of go for the ambiance and just to, like, kind of people watch and hang out and look at stuff. But it's a really cool deal. Like,
Now, how's Heroes Con? I've never been. How's that compared to, like, San Diego? You ever been to San Diego?
I haven't been to San Diego. I think Heroes, as far as the southern states, it's one of the larger ones, if not the largest. Nowhere near San Diego, because Heroes doesn't really do the other forms of entertainment.
Okay.
They just kind of stick strictly to the comic stuff.
Gotcha. I knew it.
Rosario Dawson was there one year, and
Yes.
I missed it, and I was so sad.
That's
If I
right.
could have touched Rosario Dawson, I didn't get to.
I did get to touch.
I met her before, too. Don't hate. Don't hate Big Brad. I can't remember why I met her. She was in a movie with Rocky.
She was in the rundown.
That's what it was. Yeah, I was on set for that one time. Seemed like I should remember that shit. Let me turn on my timer here so I can see how long we're going. Because we'll get fucking long. Stop. So Heroes Con, you did that. You're out promoting. Let's throw this graphic up. Talk about Absolute Justice. CWF is actually one of my favorite indie promotions right now. Uh-oh, wrong one. Let's make it disappear. Boom. Absolute Justice. I guess this is the main event. Eric Royal versus Zane Dawson. Tell me something about these two cats.
Yes, well, Eric has really stepped up in the last year or so. I know he's somebody that you've known for a few years now, and he's in year 5 or year 6 as a pro, I think. And in the last year has really stepped up, has really kind of established himself as the ace of CWF Mid-Atlantic and the franchise, the promotion, the face of the promotion, whatever you want to call it. The last 6 or 8 months, Eric has really stepped up. And now is being confronted by an outsider in Zane Dawson. We run all of our events in the Gibsonville, Greensboro, Burlington area, sometimes as far as Raleigh, every now and then. But basically for people that aren't from North Carolina, we're pretty much a little bit askew, but almost dead center in the state. And Zane Dawson made his reputation 3 or 4 hours down the road on the coast. And for whatever reason, it just never worked out for him to become a CWF regular. The schedules, everything never worked out. And when he finally got here earlier this year, he arrived with a vengeance and set about trying to take down Eric Royal and establish himself as the ace of CWF, and that's really what the issue is about.
So he's just an angry young man.
He's an angry guy who I think he's.
Now, is there a reason he's angry, or is that his gimmick?
I think even if he was here, I think even he would say that no disrespect to anybody out there, but I think maybe he feels like he's accomplished everything he could accomplish on the coast, and it was time to move west a little bit and conquer a new territory, so to speak.
I had a very well-known agent tell me one time that a big guy's gimmick was that he was angry.
Just anger?
Yeah, I was like, exactly. That was my response. I was like, that's kind of an emotion, ain't it?
Yeah.
Like, that's all he is, just mad. Why is he mad at me?
But
that's why I said that.
He feels like he's missed out on being part of what we feel like is the premier promotion in the Carolinas, and I guess he feels that way too because he wanted to be a part of it bad enough that he was willing to kick the door in and beat up security and throw fans around and do whatever it took to get a spot.
The two very talented guys. Eric actually helped me when I was coming back from my neck injury. Eric was one of the guys that was working out with me and pushing me a little bit there.
Yeah, the last 24 or so months, he's dropped a ton of weight. He's in great shape now. I mean, he's from somebody that. One of the cool things about CWF is we also have a wrestling school that's attached to the promotion, and all the information on that is on CWF247.com. If you're anywhere in North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, and want to be a wrestler, we've got one of the best schools, and that's one of the cool things about what we do is you get to see somebody develop from day one when they stepped in the door all the way up to whatever they accomplish. Like I remember I was there the day Brad Attitude took his first bump.
I can vouch for that. Like I send guys your way all the time.
Yeah.
And like especially since Omega has restarted, we're getting people want me to train, and I got no interest in being in the baby stages. Once you get good, then or even mildly good, then I can be there. But I can't be the guy that tell you you're going to make it if I think you can't, just to get money. And not saying your school does that, but I know almost every school I've ever been involved with or seen does it. I can't do that, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to tell somebody they can't make it because who the fuck knows? They might go through some massive growth spurt or transformation or whatever the fuck, and something could happen. But I know, like, if I feel initially that you can't, then I'd rather wait and let somebody else coach you, and then once you get good, then I can polish you and I can fix shit there. I just don't want to be in them baby stages. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's just how I deal with it.
I can't remember if this has ever come up between me and you or not, but I met my wife because of you.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No,
I'm sorry for her. Tell her, Katie, I'm sorry.
Yeah. She contacted you the same thing you're talking about. She was like, "Where's the place to train?"
Oh, really?
In the Carolinas, and you sent her to Jeff, and that's how we met.
So, are you guys happy?
Yeah.
Then you owe me.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
I know. Another case of Mountain Dew.
And another case of Mountain Dew. Appreciate it. And see. And
but yeah, like that's the top match for Saturday, and that's one of the cool things. Like I was saying, is we've seen Eric, develop from day one, going all the way now to really in the last 6 or 8 months establishing himself as the ace of CWF Mid-Atlantic. And it was actually our friend Tyshawn out in Charlotte was at the Omega show with us, the East Wake High School show, and made that comment while we were off camera in between the matches. He leaned over to me and the coach, and he was like, "Good Lord, Eric is the top guy. Eric is the ace of CWF now." And so it's become apparent now.
It's the Billy Kidman thing.
A little bit.
That's why Kidman wasn't over in WWE, because they didn't see him grow. In WCW, they saw him grow from this, not even a jobber, he was just a whipping boy in the flock, till getting a spot in here and there, then getting a match in here and there, and then having really good matches. And so the WC audience grew with Kidman. And it's probably the CWF audience has grown with Eric. So not only has he matured, but they matured along with him.
Yeah, there was definitely like a 4 or 6 month period, maybe even longer than that, where Kidman was my favorite wrestler on television.
And he was
having great matches with everyone.
And then when he got to WWE, there was just something was missing, and that's what I've always felt it was. Because there were some WWF people at the time that just didn't watch WCW, and that's just how it is. And that was the reality that we found out coming in.
Yeah.
Some of us thinking, hey, not necessarily me, because I knew the deal. But some guys, even some top guys thought, I'm going to be over when I get to WWE. I was like, motherfucker, no, you're not.
You lose that emotional connection.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Well, let's go to this next match. We're talking about, we got Jason Miller and Nick Richards against Donnie Dollars and The question mark.
The question mark.
Who? So who is making his return or actually his debut?
Who will Brother Love bring to the ring?
Yeah, there you go.
Before we get to this match, let me just say that I love this T-shirt. The Masked Superstar is one of my favorite of all times, and I tried to get Count Grog, who books Gouge Wrestling, which is gimmicks only, fucking something whatever. He was booking Superstar, and I was like, I will come in and team with Superstar if you make it happen. Like, you don't even have to fucking pay me. I would just for that memory, because he was one of my favorites growing up, I would just do it. And I mean, you know, he packs the house out with like 20, 30 people every show. So, I mean, I know he can afford to pay to do it again, but anyway, just so that I love the T-shirt.
Masked Superstar, one of my favorite people in the business. One of Corey Edgel's favorite people in the business also. Like, probably Corey Edgel's hero.
One of the first times I was on an indie show with him, he pulled out that mask. He wasn't doing Demolition, he was doing that. And that mask was fucking, it was about the size of this. Mm-hmm. No, smaller than this. And he's got a big head. You know, he's just a big guy anyway, but he's got that big head. And this mask was about maybe this big. And I was just going, how in the fuck is that going to go on? It's exactly, not even being disrespectful, but I was like, God, but then he fucking stretched that bitch on, and he put on that shirt with the butterfly collar, and I was like, oh, I was like 6 years old again. Go, look at that motherfucker. That was so cool. And he went out there and beat the piss out of some kid, too. Some kid that was like, told him to lay it in or some shit like that. And I was like, why would you say that? Okay, so he laid it in and laid that motherfucker out. Okay, $90, mystery partner. What's going on with this match?
$90, Nick Richards, myself, and Matty De Niro were all in a group called Fatback for a number of years.
Now, why were you called Fatback?
Michael Yamaha. I literally have no idea, but he showed up to the building one day. You know, we always have our building in CWF Atlantic. It's like the studio wrestling vibe. We've had a couple different ones over the years. But he showed up to the building one day. I was managing Yamaha at the time, and he goes, man, I got an idea for us. And I was like, all right, because Yam always had crazy. You know, he wanted to have a big baseball bat with like the top of it painted red, and that'd be his wrestling match that he used as a weapon because it would look like a match that you like. Yam always had ridiculous ideas, but so I'm bracing myself for the worst here. And he goes, I got an idea, man. I'm gonna start calling you Fatback. And I'm like, Fatback? He's like, yep, you're my manager, Fatback, from now on. And I'm like, all right, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't get it, but whatever. Like, should I come out eating the fucking, you know, Fatback in a little bag or whatever? And he's like, no, I'm just going to call you Fatback from now on. And nobody disrespects Fatback. And he said it with such, like, conviction that I was like, it was one of those conversations where, like, you have nothing to say in response. I'm just like, all right, nobody disrespects Fatback. And we did the thing later that night. He wrestled this kid, boom, boom, boom. After the match, he takes the microphone and hits the kid with the microphone. And then he's standing over him. He goes, and you just remember, nobody disrespects Fatback. And he throws the mic down.
And the crowd pops.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm creative in the sense of like a finish or a story or an idea. I'm not necessarily great with names. In particular, I had the toughest time ever naming myself. Like when I was training and everything, I went through like 3 months and I was like, fuck it, I'll just use my real name because I can't come up with anything.
Right.
So when he was like Fatback, I was just like, okay. And then we picked up $90. We picked up Nick, Mitch Connor, Corey, a couple other people along the way, Amber O'Neill. And the group just kind of became Fatback. It just kind of became the thing. And then like from that, we were able, because everybody but Yam and Amber, but everybody but Yam and Amber were like bigger guys. Like me and Corey and Donnie were all bigger guys, and I kind of retroactively made the connection of we could all wear pink and have pigs and, you know, make a little deal out of it. But that's where it came from. Michael Yamaha, just nobody disrespects me.
Nobody disrespects Fatback motherfuckers.
But we were on a group.
So y'all should have thrown that in there. Then would have got even bigger.
I have made a promise to myself that the first person to ever say the F word on the microphone at CWF will be me. It's never been done, and I'm going to be the first one day.
Okay,
I made a promise to myself.
Well, let's throw this out there then. On the Absolute Justice show, I will be doing commentary with you.
Yes.
So you challenging me?
That's not the microphone. That's a headset.
Oh, okay.
That's not the microphone.
You sure?
That's not the microphone.
There's a microphone connected to that headset. That's how people.
The house mic. The King Kennedy, Howard Finkel.
Because I'm at F-bomb dropping. Especially when I get excited, I can't help it sometimes.
It is live too. So
and it's live.
No one can stop you.
It'll be a different. That'll be a different vibe because like we tend to, you know, to stay in kind of the shallow end of the pool as far as like the PG
Life.
Content and
Evolution.
And
do you believe in dinosaurs?
With you, I do. With you, 9/11 was a hoax. With you being on commentary, we're gonna veer off into the PG sucks territory. So that's gonna be an experience for all of us with you on commentary.
What about too? When I started doing that PG sucks, everybody's just, oh, you're just hating, you're bitter. And now actually those are the only shirts I got left, and I had like 1,000 of them fucking things.
Yeah. It was weird because back in because your CWF started in December of 2000. We'll get back to Nick and Miller later, maybe. But CWF started in December of 2000, and...
Now, Grant, I want you to shut the fuck up at some point. Okay?
He's a talker. I'm just comic relief once in a while. That's it.
Fucking Ren and Stimpy over there.
But yes. But, at the time, we were in the middle of the Attitude Era, and everybody, there's titties on pay-per-view, and everybody's bleeding all over everything. And the powers that be, which, Grant can shed some light on this, made the conscious decision that we're going to do PG. We're going to, kids are welcome. We want parents to be able to... feel comfortable bringing their kids to our shows because TV wrestling has gone bananas.
Right.
And now, especially the last 5 or so years, me and some others have been pushing CWF to go a little edgier because the TV product is so watered down now.
Yeah.
Literally, the times have changed.
Well, I think when I was saying PG Slayton, I would always get us, well, you were such a kid character. I'm like, yeah, my partner was named Shit. I had a T-shirt that said bitch on the back. It said biatch, but it meant bitch. Like, are you sure I was as PG as you might think? And the thing is, if you do a PG-13 or R-rated show, it doesn't mean that you're cussing and fucking the whole 2 hours. It just means that if you need it.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not trying to, say we need to watch porn or it needs to be murder. We went and watched The Purge or whatever. It doesn't need to be murdering fucking for 2 hours. But if somebody needs to die, then that might need to happen. I'm talking about in a movie sense, obviously not in a wrestling show. But that's all I meant. I was just like... It bothered me when I would see 2 guys out there and they're really angry and the guy goes, I'm going to kick your tail. Like, man, you don't say that when you're angry. When 2 grown men, all dieseled up are yelling at each other, they're going to be cussing, and that's when it helps out.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily help out when you're just doing commentary and you got JBL and Jim Ross out there cussing each other. That's not what I mean. But just if you need it. It's better to, have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That's what.
Also, I think if you're trying to run indies on a regular basis, especially in a specific town or location, it's much more beneficial to stick with the PG because if you go just balls out, then who knows what kind of problems you're going to run into with, the mayor or other people that are in that town. Mm-hmm. And plus, if you don't want to drive you'll keep the kids, but the parents still have to get the kids to the show.
Yeah.
If you offend the parents, then you ain't going to sell no tickets. So if you're doing more than 1 or 2 shows here and there, it's very beneficial to kind of stick in that PG.
And the thing was, WWE wasn't PG. WWE was G because they're held under such a microscope.
Yeah.
If they were R, they were really just PG-13. They were never really R.
Oh no.
They were just PG. You go because in WCW we had the fucking powers, not powers that be, but whatever this fucking. Standards and practices. They would be on us about if there was any blood. Like when I broke my nose on TV that one time, they panned away so fast, not to show it. It was just a broken nose. I wasn't even bleeding, and I pulled my hair down in front of my face so you couldn't see it. But they zoomed away like it was. And then after it was over, they showed Rambo where he was killing 80 fucking people. Mm-hmm. I was like, now you realize this is entertainment, I did really break my damn nose, but how is that so much worse than Rambo killing somebody?
Because parents are going to have the kids.
But wrestling is under such a microscope that some people's like, oh, they're quick to go, it's not real anytime something good happens. But then regularly, if something bad happens, they're all over like, well, this must be real. Or they treat it as such. So very, very, that double standard is. So that's what I'm saying. WWE, when it is PG, is really just G.
Something else that I've learned is the concept of the realistic portrayal of violence as opposed to a portrayal of violence that's accepted. You can hit someone with a chair, and that's an accepted practice. People understand it as part of kind of the language of what we do. But I remember a few years back we did a thing where a guy got hit over the head with a beer bottle, and parents were mad
at your show.
Yeah, leaving the show because that was.
You should do the electric chair like they did to Abdullah the Butcher that one time. How did that not upset people?
No doubt.
Because it was fucking ridiculous. That's why.
I've been begging to do a rape angle for years.
Yeah, he has.
Oh, man.
Every time.
That might touch some people the wrong way.
Yeah.
The rape angle might.
Pun intended?
Yes.
There we have it. So anyway, back to this tag match that nobody cares about.
Yes,
Oh, wait. I'm trying to sell this show.
Back in our last pay-per-view, Nick Richards abandoned Fatback, destroyed everybody, retired me to the commentary booth. That's what I do now. And so now he and Donnie are at odds and have each, in theory, picked a partner. We don't know who Donnie's partner is, but in theory, each have picked a partner.
Well, you see the other guy's partner is Jason Miller, who looks like Xaris in that picture.
A little bit. He's another CWF Mid-Atlantic dojo graduate, another guy that started with us and had some run-ins with Converse, had some run-ins with Jesse Ortega and the likes, and has recently formed a partnership with...
All right, enough about that match. Next match is Trevor Lee versus Andrew Everett Cross. What we got going on there?
Grant can talk about this one.
Talk about it, Grant.
National Pro Wrestling Day and everything.
Yeah,
you were there.
Yeah, back in National Pro Wrestling Day in Philadelphia, back in February, we were granted the opportunity to have our match, and just so happens, at the conclusion of that match, Chiva Kid does that incredible double moonsault, and in the process breaks the jaw of Trevor Lee. Trevor Lee was
double
out
moonsault to the face.
To the face. So,
how's that high spot treating you, kid?
Yeah, treat Chiva Kid pretty good because he got some bookings out of it.
Not so much here or here, right here. That's where it hurts.
Remember, there's no pay-per-view for gymnastics. Never has been.
But so Trevor missed a little bit of time while Chiva Kid.
Yeah, he was fucked up though, right?
Yeah,
had his shit wired shut.
He had wired shut for weeks, and he was a miserable bastard for quite a while there.
But they're two talented guys. I know we've had them on both the Omega return shows that I was a part of. So
yeah, and since National Pro Wrestling Day, Chiva Kid took the mask off to become his real identity.
Now, was it a shock that he wasn't Mexican, or was that ever the?
He came out as speaking English about a year or two prior.
Okay, so we knew.
Yeah,
the fans know. Of course, we know.
Yeah, depending on how much attention you pay.
Gotcha.
So yeah, Trevor took Chiva's mask from him, and this is finally after several weeks and months going back to February of very intense stare downs and altercations. This is finally their big one-on-one match.
And the only singles matches they've had since then have been on the Omega shows.
Really?
On the CWF shows, we've had them touch, we've had them in tags, but we've not had the big. This is the title.
So that's why you were so upset that their match got interfered in?
No, I didn't.
At the last Omega show?
No, because
so Grant hated the last Omega show because there was a run-in and somebody got disqualified. Who got disqualified?
Well, it was a double
or was it just double disqualification?
Yeah, double disqualification.
No contest.
Unnecessary double disqualification on a spot indie show.
A spot indie show.
Spot indie show.
I'll put our Omega shit up against CWF any fucking day.
No, Omega's product is actually incredible. But who knows when that rematch is happening? That was my
fucking right here.
No, not that rematch.
It's gonna be no.
The people that ran in on the Chiva Kid.
Hey, I know.
You know.
The fans aren't supposed to know. When Stephen King writes a book, he doesn't write it hoping that the people know what the fuck's going to happen. That's not storytelling.
But you want to be able to sell the tickets, so fans want to know.
You think because of that Omega fans won't buy another ticket?
Not at all. But I'm saying if there's no.
I'm killing him already.
I know. Well, I knew coming to this based on this previous conversation was going to be.
But you just don't like DQs in general.
No, if they're done properly.
And this one wasn't done properly. What was improper about it?
Well, no, because I think it was a good idea if for TV and stuff because you're coming back the very next week.
Mm-hmm.
But that the end result of that match would have been the payoff is several months or whenever it is down the line.
So you think fans are stupid and they can't remember?
I do not think fans will recall.
Some fans are very stupid and can't remember.
Right. Fair enough.
But you don't think we could go out there and explain it to the people? You don't think you could cut a promo and just lay it out what happened at last show and they'll get with it?
Unquestionably you can, but there's just not I'm speaking more for the fans in attendance that night.
Mm-hmm.
If they buy a ticket to the next Omega show, it has nothing to do with that match.
How do you know?
Well, I mean, it could retroactively, but at this point in time,
see, but nothing you're saying is concrete. Nothing you're saying is holding water.
But if
you're a sieve and water is just seeking through.
If WWE does a DQ on Monday night, it may be god awful, but next week, well, hopefully there's going to be a follow up and so on and so forth. Really?
There is going to be a follow up. Why does that have to be your time frame? Why does it got to be by your schedule?
Well, no,
it's not even your show.
No, I'm looking at it from the fan perspective because
But hold on, I want to touch on something. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But I want to touch up because I listen to y'all's podcast, Wrestling with Optimism. Look on that on iTunes. I listen to it when I'm in the gym. They put a very positive spin on wrestling, which I try to do too here. You know, we have enough enemies of pro wrestling and enough negativity out there that no need to contribute to it. So I like what you guys do. But you didn't like it because it was a good match that got interfered on, as opposed to a shitty match or whatever.
Right.
Well, here's my point. I'm not going to have a shitty match on my show. I'm not going to intentionally put out a shitty match and let guys do a run-in. And here's why it's better on a good match. Because if you're invested in that match, you're going to hate the run-in even more. That's where the heat's at. We want the people to be pissed off that there's a run-in. If there's a shitty match and these guys do a run-in, I'm going to be fucking happy. And then the guys I want to have heat, now I'm happy for. That's the opposite of the reaction we were going for.
I think that heat works back before the advent of the internet and that kind of thing.
No, that heat works now because your ass is hot about it and you don't even realize you're being worked.
No. My heat is different than your normal fan's perspective because I know that I know the.
So you're not going to come to Omega no more?
Oh, of course I'll be at all the Omega stuff.
What do you think, Stutts?
I think a big part of what Grant's talking about is because I think you kind of touched on it a second ago. I think a lot of us have become conditioned to view it the other way. And what I mean by that is they'll send, no disrespect, but they'll send like Heath Slater and somebody out there in something that's not really that exciting for the purpose of Sid runs out and power bombs everybody.
And then you don't hate them.
That's what I'm saying. I think we've been conditioned to that style of a match is to elicit a babyface response where we're happy that Sid came out and powerbombed these guys. And I think that's kind of what he's kind of getting at. Is he just is conditioned to view it the other way. Everything you're saying is exactly right. If they had ran in on, I don't want to bury anybody in the Carolinas. If they had ran in on two guys that can't work, then they would have got a pop.
And I could have easily have done that.
Right. Sure.
But no, my thought was I needed a moment here. And what makes that moment better is you're going to have a great match that these guys are going to go fuck up. That's why fans should hate it. And then hate them, period.
I completely get your logic. I'm not saying that at all. And like I said, I think on TV it works. But just on spot indie shows, it's not as effective because I don't feel like there's a reason not to give the fans a finish.
They had more heat than anything that night that run in.
I don't know, yeah.
That's what I heard.
I think Carino had some heat.
Yeah, but Carino getting on the mic and doing all that. Carino's the guys on TV. You got two guys that nobody really fucking knows.
Right.
In a situation that nobody expected or predicted. Of course the main event was going to deliver. We didn't have any doubts about that. But other than that,
I got you.
It had more heat than anything else.
From the non-name talent.
And that's how you build non-name talent. Today's market is hard to get legit heat. Because nobody knows what the fuck it is anymore.
Right.
Because people out there chanting for the fucking heel, he's not the heel anymore. He's the babyface. But if you got people that we can legit hate, and if that's what's making you legit hate them, then that's working. It's like there's only a few heels in TV or movie cinema that I think are legit heels. Fucking Percy Whitmore in Green Mile. I hated that motherfucker with a passion. You watch the guy in Ghost, that sneevely motherfucker in that movie Ghost, he may have been the best heel of all time. Because there's nothing redeeming about him. There's nothing you like about him. If there's anything you like about a heel, then he's not doing it. That's so hard to get these days. You got Zeb Coulter on TV, maybe the most over heel there is. And before him was JBL. The only people who were just across the board. And bringing up your Heath Slater comment, there was something like maybe it was Brock Lesnar was out there beating the fuck out of somebody, and the crowd was chanting one more time or something like that, and he didn't do it. And that's exactly what he should have done. Because he didn't cater to the people. He didn't try to, make them happy. He went out there, he whooped that ass in vicious style, and then when they wanted more, he didn't give it to them, and that made them boo him. It's so hard, especially for a Brock to get heat.
Oh, yeah.
But
don't you agree that a lot of indie promotions use DQ or count out as just a lazy way to
yeah. I think if there's repercussions and consequences, it can happen. Because it happens in real life. I got disqualified in that same gym that we were at as an amateur. In an amateur match, I got disqualified. It happens in real life. The shit does happen. I was fucking this kid up, and I was just being a dick. I wasn't hurting him or anything. It was an amateur match, but I would take him down and let him up, and I was being like, I'm just fucking getting this kid up, But I had some friends there, and I was a fucking high school punk, It's not like I'm a grown man, who knew better. And anyway, the referee finally disqualified me for fucking taunting. If you can believe that.
Sounds like something you might.
How hot were you?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a rule. I didn't even know you couldn't do that. I mean, it wasn't like I was yelling at him. I was just,
moonwalking around him.
Yeah, I would just, I would take him down and get off and be like, really? And I would sit there and I was kind of juking and jiving, and I juke one way and go the other way, and I would just fucking him up. I was already a pro wrestler at this point. It's why I was like this. I was putting on a show. That's what I was doing. I really wasn't trying to embarrass this kid. In retrospect, obviously, it could have been embarrassing. It probably was. But, shit, he should have been better.
Well, see, the school doesn't think.
You know what he could have done? He could have went and got better.
Yeah.
But here's what happened on the return. I whooped his fucking ass way worse than I did then.
And they probably sold more tickets, too. If
he's the one that got fucked up. He's the one that was on the receiving end of all of that. Because then, like when I was taunting him, so to speak, I would just take him down, letting him up, and there's no big deal. On that return, I would put him in arm bars, and I wouldn't pin him. I would get him close, and I could totally have pinned him and wouldn't. I was just torturing that fucking kid. Don't bully people. Be a star.
Right. I think we can agree that
I was 125 pounds. You can't be a bully at 125 pounds.
I think the three of us can agree that pretty much, in my opinion at least, and I think the three of us can agree, you can almost get away with anything in wrestling from how, as far as the devices that you use to tell your story, as long as that follow-up is there. Because even you were talking about what you did on the return of an amateur match.
Yeah, there has to be repercussions.
As long as the follow-up is there, you can use any device to tell your story, and that's something that me and him will bicker about a lot of times as we're kind of mapping out some of the CWF stuff is, he'll say something like, you can't do a DQ here. I was like, bro, we can do whatever we want as long as it has, like you said, it has consequences, it has a follow-up, it has as long as we can weave it into the fabric of what we're making here.
Right.
Because even though your intentions are good, a lot of indie promotions would have done that exact same thing with no intent on follow-up, with nothing in the future.
Well, you can't gauge us by other indie promotions.
Well, fair enough.
So you're gauging us by unfair criteria, and by the unfair criteria of what we do week to week. What you guys do with CWF is unheard of. As far as y'all had, I know I was on the 350th show. How many shows have you had since then?
This is 352 coming up Saturday.
See, that's fucking just insane. So you can't even gauge anything else by that. That's insane. Right. And the fact that we're not going to do week to week, we can't worry about that. We can't go, we can't do this because we're not going to have a show next week. You can't think in that line of thought. So we're thinking going forward, and that fans will buy the DVDs or the IPPVs going forward, and collectively you can watch it back and see the progression of the story.
Now, if you don't like what I'm saying about the DQ, you know whose fault it is. It's Jeff Rudd. Because Jeff Rudd's the one that instilled in me that whole no DQ thing.
No, I mean, I understand. Like I say, if it's done too much, like the Berserker getting DQ'd, like you guys talking about, that shit makes sense to me. The guy needs to get
that's his gimmick.
Yeah. Still, I mean, there are times, if there's a reason for it, consequences and repercussions, then it could be a good tool, not to be used lightly, So, I mean, Bill Watts tried to make it a big deal, like throwing people over the top rope was a DQ, and then nobody even gave a fuck. But wrestling had evolved past that in WWE, so it's like, we're not gonna buy that shit no more. So.
I think another thing to consider is know your audience. That's one of the biggest rules, and
And I just knew not to cut you off, but which I did. Sorry, I just knew going by the match I saw at Chinlock for Chuck with Trevor and Chiva. I was like, these fucking kids are going to tear it up, and they're going to be good. They're really fucking good. I give credit where it's due, and I just think fucking up a good match is more heat than fucking up a match nobody cares about. Because if they went out and fucked up two schmoes, I wouldn't care. I would be cheering for them.
I honestly agree with what you're saying.
And I needed a moment there. And what I try to do when I put on the show is I make the whole show have a feel, as most promoters don't. They'll put this match here and this match there and this match here, and hopefully by the end it'll all go together. I don't believe in that. I believe that like a match tells a story, that a show tells a story. If you front load the fuck out of the first end, you're gonna you're kind of like shooting the second half in the foot. It needs to have an ebb and a flow, and right there is when I needed a moment. And we already had the moment with the American Tiger thing that went on, which is my favorite promo of all time.
It's fantastic.
And so that was the only other place it fit. And like I said, when I was thinking about it, I was like, it's going to fit even better because of how good these two guys are. Yeah. And two, what would it have done for either one of them losing?
Nothing.
So, win-win. So that concludes this episode. Now let's talk about, now we got this women's match. These divas, what do y'all call those ladies?
The Arena Chicks.
The Arena Chicks, that's right.
Chicks.com.
We got Serena Deeb, who I tweeted a couple weeks ago. I told you guys before the show. I want to put her in a lucha mask and call her Lucha Debra against Amber O'Neal. That's a good picture. Let me just stare at this for a minute. We're going to drink this in. And this is in Gibsonville, North Carolina. which, as you guys may not know, was named after Robert Gibson.
It's right next to Morton'sville.
Oh wait, I'm getting a message that it's not named after Robert Gibson. Okay, my fault.
Home of Torrey Holt.
Home of Torrey Holt. No way. NC State Wolfpack, who made it, throw this out there, to the World Series of Baseball last night. They're going to be in the World Series of college baseball for the first time since 1968. They went like fucking 16 innings or some shit before they finally sealed the deal. So congrats to them. And also, I don't know if you guys are NBA fans. We'll get to Amber in a minute. But did you watch NBA at all?
Hit and miss.
Did you watch last night?
I did not see last
Game
night.
2, the Heat and the Spurs. LeBron James, that motherfucker, blocked this guy. This motherfucker is going to the hole. And he's going to slam this ball. Not LeBron, the other guy. Splitter, I think his name is. Or Spitter or Splitter or some shit. And he's a big, tall, white guy. And he's up there and he's ready. And he's ready. He's going to make this fucking highlight dunk. And LeBron just manhandled his entire fucking life in that 1 second. Like, if this dude never shows up again in another game, it will be why. So I'm saying he might just I'm done. It was that bad. And then LeBron just stood there and like, everybody else runs down. The fucking other teams got the ball. No, the Heat got the ball. Everybody runs down. He's just standing down there. Just, and it's like, oh shit, the play's still going? It was such a fucking pop for me. I was going crazy.
Grant's the sports guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much just doing wrestling.
I mean,
almost
football,
all the time.
but yeah.
Football's your thing?
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to Serena Deeb about the Packers, actually.
Oh, yeah? She's a Packer fan?
She is.
A Packer fan? A Woody Packer? But anyway, that was impressive last night. I love the finals. I love when you got the championship. Like, I'm not a baseball fan, but I can watch the World Series.
Yeah, anything's good in playoffs. Anything's good in overtime.
Yeah.
And Game 7, as you said.
Yeah, every Game 7's good.
Especially, man, when you got a crowd of people, that mob mentality, that empathy that we don't realize we all have, but we do, and that's why that mob mentality works.
Yeah.
God, I could just feel it. Now, when nobody here but me and Karen last night, the waitress, I gave her name away. And I put up a vine of us multitasking because I'm watching the finals. I'm on Tumblr, which I love Tumblr. I don't know if you guys own that, but that shit's awesome. And she's candy crushing like a motherfucker, which is some brain addicting, melting fucking game on. It's ridiculous.
I don't do the app. So
Oh my god. Yeah, I was like, I'll play it. I ain't gonna get addicted. Now I'm on fucking level 117.
You're better than this, Shane.
I am better than this. It puts a halt to every productive thing you can be getting done that day. Like I was like, I need to do this, I need to do that, but hold on, let me just get this one level. Motherfucking Candy Crush. Anyway, congrats, LeBron. Not that you fucking need it. You know what the fuck you did.
He's doing all right.
I met LeBron in Cleveland one time. He came to our show. And I said, hey, man, I said, you enjoyed the show? He goes, yeah, I enjoyed the show. I said, you have a good time? He goes, yeah, I had a good time. Nice talking to you. I'm like, all right. There you go. But, like, hearing him in interviews, he's an intelligent guy, but at that particular point in time, I was going, good thing you can slam the ball, motherfucker. He really just repeated what I said. I was going, the sky's blue? Yeah, the sky's blue. All right, fuck it. So let's talk about Serena Deeb and Amber O'Neal. What we got going on there?
We got the arena chicks come down about 3 or 4 times a year, and that's something that Amber's pretty much put together.
Mm-hmm.
She's been with CWF since the very first show, and her and Amber Gertner and a group of others kind of put together the arena chicks and basically bring in different girls from all over the country on our big shows. Sometimes on the regular shows, but almost always on the big shows. I like to bring in different girls from all over the country and just kind of add that's something extra. I'm a big fan personally of kind of like how you were talking about how a match builds and a card builds. So
right.
you have 6 or 7 individual builds building up to one big peak, one big climax, if you will. And I'm a big proprietor of a show should have something for everybody, and so
of course, it's a variety show.
Yeah, and I always like having the girls there. So, yeah. I mean, just in what we just talked about, the 4 we just talked about, you've got a street fight that's anything goes. You've got the girls match. You've got 2 of the best cruiserweights, like heavyweights in the country, and you've got a heated personal issue.
Now, are these 2 guys aware that I'm the longest cruiserweight champion of all time?
I think everyone.
Okay, I didn't know.
Everyone should be.
I didn't know if you guys knew that.
I never heard that.
Did you know I beat The Rock and I'm undefeated against him?
What the fuck did that happen?
No rematch. And no rematch.
But that's something that I really love having the Arena Chicks because it adds that something for everyone kind of vibe to the show. Like you said, it's a variety show, and I'm really.
And these are two girls that are good too. They're not just hot. They
Yeah,
can actually go out there and throw down.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fantastic. I think I love Amber personally. Like I think as far as I guess you call it like competency. Like Amber can have a match with anybody. Like she's so experienced. She's so like, she's wrestled everywhere. Like shots for WWE, shots for TNA, fucking ROH, Shimmer. She's wrestled everywhere at least once. So like,
she's a hustler too, man.
Yeah,
she's always doing some shit.
Yeah,
she's always got some shit
Amber
cooking.
can have a great match with anybody, and Serena Deeb, obviously, one of the girls was really on the rise in the last like 5 or so years. So I'm really excited to have both of them here Saturday, and Grant gets to talk to Serena about the Packers.
So are you from Green Bay or something?
No, I only lived up there for a year, but that's all it takes. Like, it's a different world, man.
But that's all that's going on up there, right?
That's
Literally,
all
that's
they have.
that's
It's
all
not
they
even a
have.
joke. It's like if you took all the State and Duke and Carolina fans and just made it into one school, and then took away a lot of other forms of entertainment and just put them out in the field. That's that world up there. It's crazy.
I've gone up there with him twice. He tries to go about once a year, and I've gone up there with him twice.
Did you drive to that? Did y'all tell me?
I've done both. I've driven in.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Love the road.
Like, don't it cost? I fucking hate road trips. Don't it cost just as much in gas to drive that fucking far as just to get on the airplane?
Depending on how many people you're taking with you.
And what about a train? Can you take a train up there?
There ain't. You can't even fly into Green Bay, really. You have to fly to Chicago. When I do fly to Green Bay, I fly to Chicago and then drive
Pretty
to
sure
Green
I've
Bay.
flown into fucking Green Bay before.
You can fly into it, but like the layover, you can drive quicker from Chicago to Green Bay than you can from the connecting flight to Green Bay. It's like it's really an inconvenience. You gotta want to go to Green Bay.
Maybe we went to Milwaukee. How far is Milwaukee from there?
About two and a half.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Because we always do loops, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I might not know what the fuck
Yeah, you
I'm
can fly
talking
into
about.
Milwaukee. Yeah.
It's a very good chance I have no idea what I'm saying right
But yeah,
now.
it's a crazy town because like literally like he's saying like you go to a diner, you go anywhere like that's what they do there.
So if you go up there wearing like a Chicago Bears jersey, you just get beat the fuck up
We
or
went to
something?
the Bears game last year.
Was that the one y'all went to? That's the big rivalries with the Bears?
Well, I mean, we hit the Vikings too.
The Vikings is the one. That's what I'm talking about.
But either one of those.
Yeah, like
So how'd you feel when Favre went to the Vikings? Was that just like
God, he's such a cocksucker.
was that a dagger to the heart?
Yeah, fuck Favre. Seriously, he.
Look how hot you're getting. You're turning red. Like, I hope this camera picks it up. You're fucking red in the face.
He turned on us, man. He turned
Drink some
heel.
Mountain Dew, man. Fucking calm down.
Yeah, that'll help.
You're fucking mad. Look at you.
he got real mad when management went crawling back to Favre a couple weeks ago.
No,
We did not go. No,
come back and join.
Now, there was a game going on between the Vikings and the Packers. And Murray and Scotty went out there and interfered in the game and took out Favre. But the Vikings got DQ'd. Would you be happy with this?
Anyone that's going to take out. I went to a Saints game just to watch them beat up Favre one time.
Really? Just because
I
he...
cannot stand Favre.
Why? Just
He
because
he did the heel turn. That's why I can never get a player tattooed on me because you never know what they're going to do later in their life. How many people are out there right now with Benoit tattoos?
We just got to go right to the murderer? We're talking...
Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
There might be some Superfly Snooker tattoos out there.
There could be some snooker
He's over
tattoos.
for a while.
Yeah.
Another one, huh?
Nah.
I haven't read the book. I got it over here. So, yeah. Just going to throw that Benoit right on
So
me.
Greg gets hot about that Pappy shit,
Yeah.
man.
Well, you brought up Favre. I bring up Benoit. That's the way it works.
I don't know if that's that close.
He stabbed us in the heart.
Not really, though.
No, not really.
Kind of
He
did.
just went to another team.
Kind of did.
It's okay.
He said
People do it every year.
in that press conference that real Packer fans would understand, and I will never let that go. Because no, motherfucker, we don't understand because you turned on us.
For millions of dollars. Motherfucker,
No.
I would stab your parents right in the mouth for $1 million.
He could play anywhere. He played for the. I had no problem with him playing for the Jets. I got no problem with him.
Just anybody but the Vikings.
He intentionally wanted to play for a rival to go against us. That's what my issue was.
He said that?
Yes.
There you go. Look at him.
He wanted his revenge.
I'm just saying.
You need a fucking hug.
I'm just-
Brad, give this motherfucker a squeeze, man.
I'm just saying. If you and I are in business together, for whatever reason, you wrong me, whether I feel wronged, whether you actually wronged me or not, I feel wronged. I might react that way too. I might say,
How did we wrong him?
I don't know, Grant. I was watching fucking.
Now, did he get let go
I was
from
watching
that?
football, Grant. I don't know.
How did he leave the Packers?
He had been teasing his retirement for about 5 years or whatever. And during that 5 years is when we drafted Aaron Rodgers. So Rodgers has already been there for a couple of years.
Yeah, so now you got Aaron Rodgers. What the fuck do you care?
So really, y'all turned on him.
We didn't
down the river.
No, he retired.
You sold him down the river for Aaron
retired.
Rodgers.
But I'm saying in the long run, you got Aaron Rodgers, who's a fucking great quarterback too. So now you gotta let it go. You got rid of this other girlfriend, but now you got a new one that's even better, or as equally as good.
Right.
You can't hold on to that old one. You gotta let it go.
Well, no.
That's one thing you do really well. So this should be easy for you.
That's true. Well, if the ex-girlfriend was still doing radio interviews and saying things about me, I would have an issue with it. I like for my exes just to disappear off the face of the earth.
I want to see this Brett Favre video where he mentions Grant Sawyer's name. That's what I need to know.
Stat mark.
Yeah.
That motherfucking Grant. Is that your real last name, Sawyer?
Sawyer, yeah.
I like that. That sounds like a wrestling name. Grant Sawyer sounds like a wrestling name.
I was going to use it. Like earlier when I was talking about I can't come up with a name, like that was the name I was going to use. And then I was like, well, you know what? We may need Grant to do something on camera one day, which we did. So I'm just going to use my name.
Sounds like one of those NXT names too, but one of the better ones.
Sawyer Fulton.
Some horse shit like that.
Now there's going to be a Sawyer in NXT soon.
There's a Sawyer Fulton.
Oh, you're not joking?
No, I think it's Fulton. It's Sawyer something. Okay. Sawyer's his first name.
It's fucking ridiculous. They just hate using people's real names, don't they?
They do.
It's ridiculous.
And copyright.
They do. But somehow Ted DiBiase sneaks through. Like he beats the system.
He must have been like
him and Cody Rhodes both beat the system.
Well,
somehow.
DiBiase had to be like one of the last ones to make it
It's
through.
got to be like him and Cody Rhodes, doesn't it? Because they
Probably.
beat the system.
Well, Cody was there first. So.
Okay, then there you go.
Yeah.
Beat the system.
I was really hoping El Generico would keep the mask. Not necessarily the name, but the mask.
Yeah. Yeah, he really grew
But
out the name.
then again, he might, he's fucking good enough that he can rise above it. So it's different when you take that mask off, especially when you get used to it. Yeah, it's not a crutch or anything, but it's just something you're used to. I wrestle completely different in that mask than I do without. I'm not saying one's gooder or gooder.
Good.
Not one's better or worse, but it's different. It's different for me.
What are the differences?
Well, I mean, I guess I should say with the gimmick. Obviously the gimmick's differently. I mean, as the Hurricane, I couldn't go out there and wrestle like I did as Gregory Helms. It just didn't fit because it was a comedy character, and so many fans don't understand that. And I try to explain it to them in terms of movies. That's my go-to because it's so similar to movies. It's like the Tom Hanks in Big was a lot different than the Tom Hanks that was in Philadelphia, or fucking Forrest Gump or whatever that movie he was on the fucking island that was 9 hours long or whatever that shit was. It's the same guy, but it's a different character because people was like, why didn't you wrestle as Gregory Helms as the Hurricane? I would sometimes, but the fans wouldn't react. I could go out there and do all these fucking cool shit, all the amateur credentials I had. I could do all that shit, but all they wanted was that fucking pose, the thumb, poke to the eyes, and the choke slam. As the Hurricane, that's all the fuck they wanted. And so if I was doing all this other shit, who am I working? Am I working them or am I working my fucking self?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's a point even when I became Gregory Helms, when I started, I had to do it completely different. And that's hard to do, to just two different styles. And I don't think that's been done a lot in the business. Right. From the way I walked, the way I talked, everything I did as Gregory Helms was just a world apart from what I did as the Hurricane. And one time I came back and damn, Arn Anderson goes, damn kid, I forgot how good you were. And that was a compliment, but at the same time I'm like, motherfucker, y'all know this is a work. I wasn't really a superhero. I would have kept in a mask because Vince told me to,
Well, it's like the Daniel Bryan thing that he's doing great now, but for like the first year it was like, oh, he's a nerd and he's a vegan and all this other stuff. And I read something or saw something that he did like a media day or whatever, where he said like he had to correct Pat Patterson. That I think it was Patterson. That like Patterson really thought he was like a nerd, and he was like, no, I could fucking whoop your ass. I've done this and this and this and this. That's just what they call me. But
it's strange that the nerd gimmicks in wrestling, in my experience, have generally by people who could actually beat the fuck out of you. Yeah. And some of the tough guys in wrestling would get their ass whooped in real life all the time. Very strange how that happened.
Except for Jameson.
I just met that motherfucker at WrestleMania, and he's all diesel.
No, really? I didn't.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I knew he was there, but
he had a fucking tank top on, and he was fucking all jacked up. And his kid, you know who his kid is?
No.
That commercial with Cam Newton was that little kid's like, maybe I'll get drafted first.
No way.
And maybe I'll be your mom's favorite player. And Cam Newton's like, what? And he goes, I'm just warming up. That's Jameson's son. He was at the show.
No way.
They were in that room with me signing.
What the?
Yeah. There you go. There you fucking have it. And they were beside the Mantar. So that table was packed.
That's the hook on Wrestle Reunion. I learned that the hard way.
What's that?
Because I learned that the hard way because we go, a bunch of us from down here go up with high spots and work the tables and tear tickets and do whatever. That's the hook is, if it's day 2 or day 3 of the convention and maybe you're a little hungover, maybe you haven't slept yet, you take the Mantar table or you take the guys who aren't as well known. You volunteer to take their table because it's less you have to do. It's less tickets you have to tear. You don't want the fucking hurricane.
I know that room. That room we were in. That motherfucker was making money. He was printing money in there.
I fucked up at WrestleMania Atlanta and took Mickey James's table. And I was fucking tearing tickets for like 6 hours. I fucked up. I should have took fucking. I can't recall. I should have took Tatanka or some shit because I should have took Virgil's table.
In the subway?
Yeah, but no, I took Mickey.
What was this? Does anybody know the story on that? Let me just say this before, in case of people that don't know what we're talking about. Now, I like Virgil. Every time I met him, he's always nice to me. Cool guy. But there's a picture of him in a fucking subway in New York where he just set up a table. Do you know the story?
I think that's pretty much it. I think he just
went in a subway and set up a table.
I think that's. I mean, I don't know him personally. I don't know if he's got like a job or not. But even if he does have a job, selling pictures anywhere that he can sell pictures is definitely how he supplements his income, even if he has a job. Because you went to LA with us once or twice on the Wrestle Reunions, right?
Once, yeah.
I rode the shuttle back from the hotel to the airport. I rode the shuttle back with Virgil, Valentine, and Beefcake one year, and Virgil was trying to get Valentine and Beefcake in on going to like Wizard World and all that kind of stuff, and he was kind of making the pitch about how he supplements his income and blah 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 blah. So it's you can make fun of it or whatever, but I mean in his way that's a fucking hustler mentality.
I'm not actually I don't like it because at any point in time when you're doing an autograph signing, there'll be a second when you take a break, and that's when somebody could come up and snatch a picture of you, and looks like nobody's fucking there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe people did go up and sign it and shit, but they just always find him, like that one of him at the San Diego Comic Con, like the doors hadn't opened yet. So he's just sitting there by himself, but that's what people don't know. They think nobody's at his table, but the fucking doors hadn't opened yet. And I was like, oh man, they could have done that to anybody.
Yeah.
It fucking could be me over there. And I'd be like, what a dick, But the subway ones are because that fucking place stinks.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know him personally, but I definitely remember riding the shuttle back, and he was trying to sell Beefcake on going to one of the Wizard Worlds with him and setting up with him, and I made this in Chicago. I don't know where all they have Wizard World, but he was like, I made this in Chicago, I made this in Toronto. Like he was a hustler. He had the figures off the top of his head. I mean, he could have been bullshitting the guy, but he had a good rap with nothing else.
He did. I did the Motor City Comic Con when WCW went out, so we had a couple months when we could do indies in between the time we started with WWF, and so I still had the Cruiserweight Championship, and I did his Motor City Comic. Virgil was right beside me, and he actually helped me out because I'm terrible at those things. I don't know. I'm not a shiller, fucking ShamWow guy. I can't do that. Like, you either want my picture or you don't. I really don't give a fuck, I just kind of like going to his cons, like when the line dies down, so I can leave and go do my shit.
Yeah.
Like I like talking to fans and stuff like that, but it does get monotonous answering the exact same fucking question a million times. But different people have those same questions, so you kind of just swallow it. But I can't be the hey, want to buy my picture, please? Like I can't do that. It's just I don't know. It's fucking humiliating or something to me. That's like with the waitresses with me. She dealing out like you handle all the money. You fucking have it. You can just have the money. I don't. She just keeps it. Pretty much is what happens. But she's better at it. Just because I don't like.
A girl will hustle at the table more.
Well, she's not like a hustler.
Good girl, smart girl.
Not like a hustler, but she's got such a pleasant disposition. And like I said, I'm just terrible at asking people to buy my shit. Like you see my Twitter, I don't shield fucking hardly at all. All my shit's nonsense half the fucking time. I'll promote this podcast and it's free. And I put out free apps. The Shane event is 99 cents. I had people that fucking didn't want to pay that. Right. And I'm like, motherfucker, if you can't afford 99 cents, then why do you have an iPhone? No doubt. That's my biggest thing. Yeah. But he helped me out because he would fucking get people over there and step right up, that sort of shit, And I'm terrible. I can't do that shit.
That reminds me of something a little off topic, but you talk about that time period in between WCW and WWF. Do you remember coming to one of our shows at an outdoor festival? You were set in the front row, and two random indie guys
did all my shit.
Did your shit, and the finish was the Vertebreaker, literally right in front of your face.
And they did the fucking Nightmare on Helm Street, which I created. That's my shit. And I was like, look at these motherfuckers.
I think we should put this match on up for download.
We should.
Everyone can watch it because I've never heard that story.
Yeah, Shane,
I know exactly the two guys you're talking about though.
Shane is in the camera shot watching it, and I know I think Amber O'Neil is sitting beside of you, and she turns to you like, what the fuck?
That's incredible.
Yeah, there you have it. But that's such a thing now that's nowhere near as respected as it used to be, just jacking people's shit,
yeah.
you know.
But that was as blatant as I've ever seen.
On the show, in front of the motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know, like people, every time the Big Show does the Nightmare on Helm Street now, people tweet me every time, like, I'm not there anymore. What do I give a fuck? You know, I'm glad he does it. That jumping neck breaker that everybody does, nobody did that motherfucker before me. And I doubt anybody does and goes, hey, thank you, Helms.
Yeah.
You know, people would just steal shit.
You're right,
the girls are the worst. Those girls, oh, we're girls, it's different. They'll go out there and steal your shit on the show. Like, yeah, I saw so-and-so do this. I'm like, yeah, but he's wrestling on the show. Why would you do that?
You're definitely right, though. That's definitely something that, like, maybe, like the generation, well, I say generation, but, like, the 90s and before indie guys that broke in were really respectful of. Like, there's a great guy I know who was in the Legends Battle Royal who, you did at the CWF show, that I talked to him and he was like, man, you know, I'm kind of a little older, whatever, maybe do a mask gimmick. And I was like, fuck yeah, man, do the grappler. I've wanted somebody to do the grappler forever. Because I grew up on World Class. I love World Class, like, you know, Mass Superstar
right.
and all those classic. I was like, I wanted somebody to do like a classic mask character forever. And I was like, be the fucking grappler. You can wrestle, you can do it. And he was like, man, you know, I'm not opposed to it, but I would not feel comfortable doing it. He really told me this. He's like, I would not feel comfortable doing it unless we could track down Lynn Denton and get his permission to do it.
I appreciate the fuck out of that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I gained so much respect for him when he said that because I was like, damn, like I admit my generation, and I'm 29. I've been doing this for almost 15 years. My generation and younger, that on the indies, that's just lost. Like
yeah.
we just don't. Maybe I was a little bit, but the generation younger than me definitely wasn't like taught that respect.
Yeah. Well, you see that so much with the fake doinks and the shit like that. That's drives me. And there's one guy, and he's local, and he's a good talent. I'm like, why the fuck are you doing this? Man, you're better than this. Man, take that fucking stupid clown suit off. You know, if you're not Matt Bourne or the other guy that came in after Bourne that did it, who was it? Ray Apollo. Yeah, him, and I think Brawler did it. You know, if you didn't do it in WWE,
Brawler did everything.
But promoters don't care.
Huh?
A lot of promoters don't care.
Yeah, there's a big deal when that one motherfucker was doing Mortis up in New Jersey, and I was gonna fucking be hot.
I got so fucking hot about that shit. I fucking called Vandy, and I never call Vandenberg. Like, we'll text, you know, we're friends, but it's casual, you know, we don't talk every day or anything. But I got so fucking hot about that dude that was doing Mortis.
Well, I didn't care about
you because I was like, somebody needs to do something.
One of the guys that did I actually knew, and I talked to him about it, and he was like trying to do it specifically as an homage. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I said this poster has Canyon's fucking picture on it, and it says WCW Superstar. Mm-hmm. And he said, I didn't know that, and he ended up, you know, pulling out of the show because of it. So he, you know, that was Giamondo. So you know, he didn't have any fucking thing to do. He was trying to do it because he was Canyon's friend. That's kind of a little different, but like that one promoter that was putting up that picture, I was like, man, come on, that motherfucker's dead.
I didn't know him.
And on that same show, they had a Goga.
Yep.
And I just recently did a show, and it was like up in Jersey, and that fucking Goga kid, and he don't even look nothing like Goga. He's not even nowhere tenta size or anything like that, but it's just, and I told the promoter, I said, dude, seriously, get rid of that fucking Goga. Not the kid. Put on another fucking mask. Take that fucking shit off.
Yeah, I didn't know Canyon personally. I met him one time, like in Applebee's after a show. But I know, like with you and Vandy and a couple others, I know so many people who were close with him that I got fucking hot as hell about that shit.
And who knows, Canyon might have liked it, that somebody was doing more. You can't say specifically that he would because he was a nutty motherfucker. You know, he might have fucking got tickled by it. But I just thought using his picture and saying that, trying to tell fans that this was the same guy when that was, you know, dearly departed, that was just a touchy subject for me. But anyway, fucking on. We do get random on this show, so don't feel bad about going off on a tangent.
What else gets you hot on indie shows? Like you talk about like something like the Mortis thing or the Doink thing. Like what are your you're traveling everywhere now. What are your pet peeves that you hate on indie shows?
I'm a lot more tolerant on indie shows than I was in WWE. You know, I would get hot at WWE when I would work guys that suck because I didn't think that if they suck, they should be there. Right. On the indies, I'm a little bit more patient because some of these guys are coming up, and I'm in more of a teacher role. And when I'm in that teacher mode, you know, you got to have some patience and tolerance for guys just not being at their level because they're not. You know, so I'm definitely a lot more. I would like guys to have gear. You know, it's almost a direct tell of how the show is going to go by how many pair of wrestling boots are in the locker room. It's almost a direct tell. It's like half these guys don't know what the fuck's going on. You know,
Does something like I know what you're talking about, but piggybacking off of that, does something like a Raven or like William Wealth, something like that, bother you? Like if it's got a gimmick?
William Wealth,
because he wore like the polo and all that shit.
You just went from Raven to William Wealth.
Those were the first two people I can think of that you would know that didn't wear gear.
The two biggest stars that
yeah,
have gear.
Raven and William Wealth.
William Wealth, fucking William.
He was not a CWF guy, but because I remember that being the thing. That's why I stuck in my mind, because for so long, CWF Mid-Atlantic, you had to have gear. And the first guy who didn't wear gear was William Wealth, because he had a gimmick. He had like the polo shirt or whatever he wore. And
in that particular instance, it doesn't bother me because William Wealth had gear.
Right.
And he created this gimmick that didn't need it. I don't like guys that create a gimmick to cover up the fact that they don't fucking have gear.
Right.
And that's why they have that gimmick. In Japan, the one thing I always liked is when you started out over there, back in the day, it was black tights and boots until you got good, and then you could go be Jushin Liger or whoever the fuck you were going to be. You don't start out as fucking Jushin Liger. Learn how to do what you do, because the best gimmicks that get over are guys that actually know how to work while they're doing it. The fucking Undertaker wouldn't have worked if that motherfucker wasn't good.
Yeah.
That's why it worked. And I see so many guys have created this gimmick to cover up the fact that they just don't want to go buy fucking wrestling boots or wrestling tights or whatever. Or they become these shooter gimmicks because they went and bought $30 Tiger ASIC wrestling shoes and put on some cheap ass kick pads. So now they're a shooter and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They had 2 years of high school wrestling and they think they're fucking shooters now or whatever the fuck. I see that a lot too. It's just like, man, just go get some fucking gear. Because this is a visual medium.
Yeah.
And presentation is everything. So when you see guys that just look like shit, it's just like...
Talking about the black gear and the black blues, I love, and I don't always do it, but we've definitely, we as a group, CWF, have definitely picked guys over the years to do their first 6, 8, or 12 months under a mask. And be like, do this, get some experience, and then we'll re-debut you as yourself later. I like that because it's your first 6 or 8 months. If you fuck up, a lot of guys and
See, but I think that shit's on mask characters.
Well, it depends on
because you're putting your shitty guys in the mask.
Well, if
you should earn the mask, man. You should earn the fucking mask.
Well, this mask gimmick is designed for the guys.
What is it? The ding dongs, the thunderfoots.
Well, Canadian mercenaries. Yeah.
The mercenaries.
And they were designed to be that kind.
Gotcha.
The cannon fodder kind of guys. Yeah. But a lot of times, and you'll talk about these young guys fuck up and they get embarrassed and whatever. Well, if there's something psychological, if it's not you,
right?
If it's not your face. It doesn't fuck with them as much when they mess up in those early matches.
Well, and the fans don't perceive them as being pathetic as well. Yeah.
Talk about pet peeve. My number one pet peeve on the Indy. I want to see how or pet peeve in wrestling. Period. My number one pet peeve in wrestling in 2013. I want you to weigh in on it.
Yep.
Is and Omega did not do this, and I was happy. Can anybody, especially on TV, not start the fucking show with a fucking back and forth promo where one guy starts talking, the other guy comes out and interrupts? Can we start with anything? Can we retire that device?
The first episode I did of Highway to Helms, I cut a promo on that.
Can we retire that device? Because it's every fucking week. Like that's
so formulaic.
That's Act 1 of every or Segment 1 of of every fucking TNA, WWE, even Ring of Honor will do it sometimes. CWF Mid-Atlantic, if we don't do anything else, we are not going to do that in the first segment. We may have one guy talk if he needs to, but 9 times out of 10, we're going to start with a fucking match at 7:30 because that's what we're here for.
Well, we have more than one promo on the show at this point.
Well,
I don't mind promos. Promos are, they're a good vehicle.
Yeah.
But when it's week after week after week after week after week, I wouldn't mind if they just started the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined in progress. The shit's already going on. They did one, and I tweeted that one week. I was like, man, it'd be great. And literally 2 weeks later, when they started the show, somebody was fighting.
They did that the pay-per-view in Raleigh.
I was like, these motherfuckers are stealing my shit. Yeah. But they started the pay-per-view was in.
Yeah, the pay-per-view in Raleigh over the limit last year started that way.
How did it start?
It was the Battle Royal was already in progress?
It was like the Battle Royal, and the winner was going to wrestle like the U.S. champion or something like that. And the Battle Royal was like the 7:30 match, and the pre-show went off the air with the Battle Royal happening, and the pay-per-view started with the Battle Royal still in progress. In other words, the pre-show match bled over into 8 o'clock.
That's the only time I got yelled at by Vince. Verbally yelled at. I had to go to principal's office a couple times.
Right.
But the only time where he was angry with me was, and not necessarily, it wasn't my fault, but I was involved in a match. Was a Sunday night heat match that almost went over into the pay-per-view.
Oh.
And it was me, Rosie, and we had Stacy Keebler with us against the Heartthrobs, and we were the tag champions. So, in first match of the night, it's a fucking hot match. You know, our little act was pretty hot. You know, Stacy's out there. Every guy in the fucking building is looking at her ass. Me too. Can't help it. And I was going to do the hot tag, so I'm on the apron, and we're going long, and the referee keeps coming telling me, and I'm going, motherfucker, tell them. You know, what the fuck am I supposed to do over here? And anyway, it's just getting, fucking clock is ticking. I'm like, oh, I'm sweating over there. Like, God, I get the hot tag. I come in, fucking blow the fastest hot tag I can think of. I'm cutting shit out left and right. And I'm with two guys that aren't very experienced anyway, and I know we got to get Stacy involved. Because, you know, Vince specifically wanted Stacy involved as much as we could, you know, in the endings, and or at least get her up on our shoulders might have been all we did at that point. I can't remember. But I was cutting shit out, and I'm sitting there going, your brain's going a mile a fucking minute at this time, maybe 100 miles a minute, because I'm like, can this guy get it? And I'm sitting there having this conversation in my head. Is he going to understand what I'm saying? If I cut this out, is he going to know to go to the next thing or whatever the fuck, you know? Because some of my moves are a little complicated to get into, so it's not nothing you could just call in the back like some of the veterans do. You know, if you're just doing punch kick, okay, we don't got to talk about that. Yeah. But you know, some of my shit's a little more, you know, complex. So anyway, but we fucking nail it. We get her up on our shoulders, and that motherfucker goes black. It's literally that tight, you know. And we get to the back. Vince doesn't say a word to the Heartthrobs. Nothing to Stacy. Nothing to Rosie. You know, I talked about this on the show, and I got the fucking finger like that. And you never want to get fingered by Vince McMahon. And it's just guy, he was just I mean, but just business sake, I would go dark during your match. I would cut the lights off, ring the bell during your match. This pay-per-view starts at 8. You know, you're the veteran out there. You take control. You come in illegally if you have to. And I'm just like, I mean, what he was saying was right, but I just hated getting fucking fussed at for any fucking thing. Right. But I'd rather hear it, you know, from him than some other asshole. And so, of course, then I went and reiterated or reverberated whatever that to everybody else. Like, motherfuckers.
I'm big on that at CWF. A lot of times in like the 4 or 6 or 8 man tags, I'll have one guy that I'll kind of give the Iggy to. It's like, all right, you're the fucking general out there, you know, blah, 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 blah. And like, you know, even if you hated it happening, it's good to be in that position at least. It's good to be the guy that's like, you know, you're the general out there, Helms, fucking get this.
Yeah, and he knew. I mean, that's what he said. He said, "You're the fucking veteran."
Yeah.
He hit me with an F-bomb too. I'm like, oh god damn it. And I was like, all right, boss, won't happen again. And that's of course all I said. And motherfucker, but yeah, you got to hit them cues, boy. Damn.
That's one thing that we've really got down now, especially like our building's not air conditioned, so it's, you know.
You know what? That's actually been one of the things where I was like, do I want to do this commentary with this show because it's hot as fucking. Well, but it adds to it to a degree.
Yeah. In the summertime, we're gonna get you out of there before 10 o'clock. Our pacing at CWF is one of the things I'm most proud of. You know, my guys, our crew. All of them deserve credit because nobody goes out there and steals time from anybody else. You know, everybody. If you've got 4 minutes or you've got 20 minutes, everybody, you know, knows how to make the most of their time, and get people, especially in the summertime, get people out of there before they've been sitting there sweating for 3 hours. Because
I'm not a fan of long shows.
Yeah, and I'm not either. And I think,
especially if I'm in the last match.
Yeah, and I think more than anything,
if I'm in the first match,
we talked about our kind of business model where, you know, we've run 351 shows, and you know we're here every 2 weeks. We positively 100% depend on repeat business. That's how we survive.
Right.
People that come back every 2 weeks. So it was super important to me to impress upon the crew, and they've all knocked it out of the park in doing this. It was important to me to express to the crew that, you know, we've got to condition these people on what to expect here every week. They know, you know, they have consumer confidence in this brand that it's going to be a great show. All our guys, you know, are good, and they're not going to be here until 12:30.
Right.
You know, because I think that's a big, especially if you've got kids or especially if it's hot, that's a huge thing. And like Grant's got a little boy, and that's you know.
How old's your boy? I didn't know that.
Just 7.
And
did I know that?
Oh, maybe. And like Grant's wife will leave sometimes.
You're married too?
Brother can't take it.
To a girl?
For real?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Very nice. I like it.
But no, I was going to say, we actually as far as not being on television, I dare say, as far as pacing, we ask more out of our boys and that crew than any other indie out there because we are boom, boom, booming the whole night.
I mean, I'm not going to scream if it's 6 minutes. I'm not going to scream your head off at 6:30. But my guys know, 6 minutes is 6 minutes. And
I know there was one match at the last Omega show that went a little heavy, and that shit irks me a little bit.
Yeah, we did. I mean, this last show that we just did on June the 1st, which is available right now on demand.
On demand.
EWF247.com on demand. We did, and it used to be that we were very cautious about like 6 matches, 7 matches, and that's how a lot of indie guys go. And sometimes that's how a lot of indie shows are run. Excuse me. And a lot of times I have to tell people, look, man, I just don't have anything for you on this one. But my guys have got the pacing of the show down, and they're in such
that sucks, don't it? Telling people you can't use
does. And my guys now are in such a good rhythm that we did 7 matches in 80 minutes on the last show, and we did 10 matches in something like 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was a time not that long ago that I would have blown my brains out before I put 10 matches on the show.
Yes.
But I know we can do it now because if I tell these guys, 4 minutes, this is what we got for you. 8-man tag, this is what we got for you. I know my guys are going to knock it out of the fucking park because they do it every week.
I did a show in Thomasville, and I think Matt Houston was one of the guys on there that was helped put the show together, and he asked me what I thought about it, and I said, dude, because we were going in, it was 3.5 hours at this point, and I don't think I'd been in the ring yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, man, if I was a fan, I wouldn't come back to this shit.
Yeah.
WrestleMania happens once a year for a fucking reason.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, fuck this, man. That was hot.
And that was the show you did teaming with Kazi and Drew back in, I think it was December. That was our one show where it's like, okay, this is the WrestleMania. We're gonna start early. We're gonna pack more than usual in. Yeah. But on our normal routine shows, man, we start at 7:30, and that's something that I didn't realize until I went to like WrestleCon.
Yeah.
Because I stay in town. I don't travel as much as I used to. I didn't realize nobody else starts on time but me.
It's hard.
We start at 7:30. We might push at 7:35.
I know on our last
catastrophe.
On our last Omega show, they put on the posters at some point at 7.
7,
and I'd been saying 7:30 in every interview I'd done. I was like, well, when did this I don't know why or when it happened, but that's just a general rule in wrestling that 7:30 is the bell time.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? And I go, I don't know why, but that's just how it fucking is. I was like, what was this 7 o'clock shit?
Yeah, I don't know how much of the wrestling you got to see WrestleMania weekend because I know you were going all over. But
not much.
The shows at the convention, all weekend long, perpetually was 35, 45, sometimes as much as an hour.
Were they trying to get people in, or were the people there?
I think it was the iPay-per-view stream. I think they were having problems with it. Which, I mean, you hate that, but I mean, I'm sorry if it's a deal where
I'm really disappointed in how slow the internet is progressing. As far as technology increases exponentially.
Yeah.
And internet speed should be fucking lightning. I mean, and it's great, but it's one of the reasons I stopped doing mine live.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I've had a few Skype guests, but it's one of the reasons I haven't had as many as I could have. Because I got a lot of guys that want to do my show, but I'm not going to fly them in or anything like that. Especially on a free podcast. Unless them sponsors kick in, you bastards waiting on you. Because internet traffic, you have no fucking control of, and there's no rhyme, no reason sometimes. The weather could be great, it could be a part of the day when it's supposed to be good, and just for no reason it's fucking shit. And that's fucking up that's IPBB stream.
We're happy to be doing this iPay-per-view, but me and him were talking about it the other day. The medium has not really took off yet. I mean, there's a lot of groups doing them, but you hear about all kinds of problems with them, just like the WrestleCon thing.
And it just makes the group look kabuki-ish, like they've done something jabroni-ish when you can't control it.
There's nothing that consumer confidence we were talking about.
Like with the Shikara one, I love their product, but the last pay-per-view, and I don't even think it was their fault. Every 20 minutes there'd be some kind of freeze, and you have to go refresh and all that. If I'm paying for it, I mean, what's the benefit to continue to buy iPay-per-views?
Even if you're paying 99 cents, motherfucker, that's my 99 cents, and I didn't pay it to see that shit. It happened to Invicta, that all-women's MMA show. I mean, they had like so many downloads that it just froze their shit up. So it's like, wait a minute. So if we're too successful, it's going to fuck up too. Like that's really bad. But I don't know how they're going to fix it.
But that's the big thing. That's one of the big things.
Step it up. We need Steve Jobs back. We need to go reanimate that motherfucker. Is what we need to do.
That's one of the big things that we stress at CWF is in our guys and everybody is consumer confidence. These people have to have the confidence in us to come back next week because that's how we survive. And if we're going to talk about it on Wrestling with Optimism soon. There's a really cool thing that's happening in North Carolina right now where it's within North Carolina. It's called
Shane Helms.
Within, well, to some extent, yes. Within North Carolina now. Like, and you'll know the people that I'm talking about. If you want to see the Ring of Honor kind of style show, go to Charlotte. If you want to see the names from the past, you go to Omega. If you want to see like the studio style wrestling, you come to our place. Like within North Carolina now.
Names from the past. We're the old fuckers.
Guys,
we're the old. You slid that in there.
The recent past.
We're the old fucking old folks of the group.
39's knocking on your door, man.
It's not knocking. That motherfucker's outside waiting on me.
There's a real cool thing now where a lot of us that have been here for a while and been running shows for a while have kind of cultivated a brand identity and a niche. And if we
could get all these garbage promotions to stop fucking up the area, it would be great. That'd be great.
But if you like that studio style wrestling where it feels like you're in the WRAL studios or it feels like you're in the Memphis studios, I think CWF Mid-Atlantic is the place to be because that's our brand identity. Is we strive to. We want people, and this is very deliberate on our part. We want people to walk into that building, and you can attest to kind of how it looks and everything. We want people to walk into that building and go, "Holy shit! This feels like I'm back in studio wrestling days."
Yeah.
That's
it's nice. I like it. I mean, I've said on here a bunch of times. I don't know how many times you guys have watched the show, but I put over CWF as one of my favorite indie promotions ever. And I think the one in Charlotte, when I did commentary, it was the first time I'd ever done commentary for a whole show was for them, and I was really blown away by them too. There's only a few indies that really catch my fucking attention, and I pay attention to what they're doing and follow them on Twitter and all that shit. And CWF is definitely one of them.
There's a cool thing happening, I think, where everybody, or not everybody, but those of us that really, have roots in the business and have been doing it for a while, have cultivated a brand identity where if you want to see the Ring of Honor style, go to Charlotte. If you want to see the studio wrestling style, come here. If you want to see the superstars of today, go to Omega.
And see, what I try to do is add a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I don't mind having some Ring of Honor style because I love that product.
Sure,
but I don't want every match to be a Ring of Honor match.
No, you just kill the audience then with that.
Well, it's just the same flavor. There's no ebb and flow, and I like the ebb and flow.
And like the Clayton shows,
like the ebony flow.
Clayton shows, you've been on. They go for that real early '80s, 70s almost vibe. They go for that real old school vibe with those Clayton fitness shows.
I try to do the variety, give it a little different style for everybody and that sort of stuff.
I like to think of it that for CWF, I like to think of it that Mid Atlantic wrestling has grown up a little bit. That's kind of
definitely. You guys got some guys that definitely aren't the George South style of wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that studio setting, but with a modernized feel, like 21st century.
I meant to show my painting. Sorry, my brain just went off on something else. I had that painting downstairs that the guy drew of me and the Blue Blazer.
I saw that. That's we hung out with him at WrestleCon, actually.
I tell you what, what's his last name? How you pronounce it?
Schamberger?
Yeah, Rob Schamberger.
Yes. Rob Schamberger?
Schamberger.
It's not Sham, it's Sham?
It could be Sham.
Well, I tweeted it, and I'll tweet it again after this, but he did a painting of the Hurricane and the Blue Blazer. It's fucking awesome. Hang that bitch up. But I hadn't hung it up because I was going to show it people that's downstairs. Grant, why don't you go in there and get it? I'm just thinking of the two.
Where's that?
Huh?
Where's that?
Right there on my kitchen counter. Okay. And there's 2 DVDs. Bring those up too.
You tell where
we're going to talk shit about Grant.
What level of seniority is in this room?
We're going to talk shit about
Grant. Go down this set of stairs over here.
Alright, so now that Grant's gone.
Now that this disqualification bullshit. What's wrong with this? What the fuck are you talking about?
Crazy.
My next show gonna be nothing but DQ.
Shit, son.
Gonna be sponsored by Dairy Queen.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean?
We can get some fucking catering. It'd be nice. We can get a nice cross promotion deal. Shit. What you touched on a while ago, and we kind of got off track. You said that you like meeting people, but you hate it gets repetitive answering the same question.
Yeah.
What are the questions that you always?
Oh, who was
the most frequent question?
Who's your toughest opponent? I generally just fucking detest that question. I'm like, I've had
I would start fucking with people
like 2,000 matches. I always says the fucking creative team. That's no matter who you are, that's your toughest opponent in this business. Is fucking creative.
I would start fucking with people after a while. Just random repo mania. Just whatever.
The Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah. Boy, he's been around a while.
Yeah. So here it is. Hope you can see this pretty good. The Hurricane and the Blue Blazer.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
By @Rob Shamaker. Shabaka?
Shoemaker?
I think it's Schamberger.
Schamberger. Okay. I'm terrible with name Robs. Don't
I
take
am
that.
too.
That's fucking awesome, man.
No, it's fine.
I'm gonna hang that shit up in my. Also, I gotta think another sponsor. I just saw this. Gym Booty. If you're on Twitter, follow at Gym Booty. They sent us some shirts. I think mainly because of the waitress. I think mainly that's how.
Okay. That's cross promotion right there.
I think I tweeted something about her to at Gym Booty. It's like, yeah, I got my own at home or some shit like that. And then they started following her and following me, and they sent us some T-shirts and this shit and some other stuff. So appreciate that, Gym Booty. I am a booty aficionado. If it's round, I'm down. Does that sound like a T-shirt?
That does. I like it.
If it's round, I'm down.
But yeah, so you're gonna host the show with me Saturday. You're
Yeah,
back in the commentary booth.
Back in the commentary for only the second time. You know, I did a couple matches in WWE when I was Gregory Helms as commentary, and Vince loved them. And that's actually one of the reasons I ended up doing the Her pop-up thing when I came back.
Yeah.
Was Vince loved my smart ass, you know, so. But yeah, one time in particular, I could hear him laughing over the headset. And Jimmy Yang was in the match, and I called him half Asian, half stupid. And I could hear Vince laughing over the headset, and I was like, yes. And that was, you know, I'm better on the fly. If I plan some shit out, like this show, if I plan it out, it's never as good as if I go in there and just start flabbing. You know, and I'm like that in promos now. Like, what are you going to say? I don't know. Just give me it, and it'll come. And I'm sure there'll be times when it hasn't really happened yet, but I'm sure I'll go out there sometimes and, like, I got nothing. But luckily it hasn't happened yet. I don't know if that's the smart ass has hurt me a couple of times in my career, but I think it's helped me more than it's hurt, so. It should be fun on commentary.
It's gonna be a different experience because, like I said, we stay on the PG end of things, and we're gonna get you excited.
No, you stay on the PG end of things.
We're gonna get you excited and get you going, and it's gonna be a new experience on the booth Saturday.
When I did it for PWX, is the company in Charlotte, that was in a bar, so they're over there bringing me drinks too. You know,
that's a bad idea.
Yeah. I don't need liquid courage. I'm a courageous motherfucker. Yeah. You know, I'm even courageous on the microphone. Wait a minute, that's not good. So yeah, they were kind of like shooting me over there. I'm like, are we supposed to be doing this? And the guy was weird. Like he didn't know what the fuck was going on. I mean, he actually was good, but he didn't know. He wasn't drinking. I'm like, is this just for me? And I was like, is this a rib just to get me drunk? Like, because when I used to do Highway to Hell, when we used to do them live, sometimes we would pound them. It would just be chaos by the end of the show. But it was a ton of fun though. So. I don't do that anymore because we do it during the day.
Yeah.
I don't feel like being hammered at fucking 3 p.m. or whatever time it is now. But that's gonna be good.
No, it's gonna be.
How many matches in total are we talking about?
We're talking 8.
We're talking 8 matches.
Yeah. So it's the big show.
Now I'm not wearing the fucking outfit. Now you're getting Gregory Helms.
I think we can.
You're getting Gregory Helms. You might get Sugar Shane.
Oh god.
A little bit of sugar.
Bring that fucking Nitro tour bus.
That motherfucker. Nobody had tour buses before us. Shannon Moore keeps telling me I got this picture and I'm supposed to find it for him, a big one of us in front of the bus, and I can't.
I remember the bus.
That was
maybe you guys in Bagwell, maybe Disco or something.
No,
like
Disco.
But I remember you.
And on the side of the bus, we were holding Nitro Girl Baby, who was one of my favorites.
Yes.
And
I recall her.
No, we just always got paired together because we would go to children's hospitals a lot, and she was the one they always did a guy and a girl, so it was a couple of Nitro girls and 3 count. For whatever reason, they picked us to do that, but Baby was the one I became, friends with. And so we're sitting there holding her. But I know we did a spring break in South Padre Island for WCW, and we had the bus down there. And they would just drive the bus down there, and we would fly in, I was barely on the bus. We might have been on it like 10 times maybe, And we would fly, we would meet the bus, and then we would drive up we would do like Duke University, and we did universities around the country. But this last one, the end of the tour, was in South Padre. And this is spring break, but it's like the week after spring break. It wasn't right during spring break, but that was WCW fucking up like they always did. So the spring break tour was after spring break was over, but there's still, thousands of people down there. A lot of people down there, a lot of girls down there, and that sort of thing. So anyway, good. The hotel has all this security, you can't get anyone out of ID. And I left my shit up in my room, and so I'm trying to get in the hotel. I was like, "You got ID?" And I was like, "No, I'm going to my room to get this away. We need an ID." And I go, "You see that tour bus over there? See that motherfucker in the middle? That's me." And there was all these girls were around. I just kind of looked back at them and kind of little fucking shitty, smile there, just to let them know. But that's the best icebreaker you could ever have. If you want to pick up a chick, is to have your fucking face on a tour bus. So it came out later, and I'll tell you this. Fucking Karen's gonna hate hearing this, but there was a time in WCW when I was wearing dog tags that were Trojan condom dog tags. And cause I went through 2 boxes in that weekend. And I wore those dog tags on TV until they got tore off. There you have it.
Very good.
There you have it. There's your debauchery segment.
I'm all about that. I'm all about the debauchery. We've been talking all weekend
See,
about
Grant, there was your time. There was your chance, though. You could have said, with girls?
Oh, so yeah.
So you got served up, but no.
I don't like to bury too much.
You're still angry. You're still red-faced and angry over Brett Favre and his DQs.
Thought about it.
What if Brett Favre caused a disqualification? How would that make you feel? It might be a double negative, and you start liking him again.
Which would you sit through if you had to sit through
here we
one?
go.
A disqualification finish or like a Brett Favre, I don't know, speech or radio interview, television interview?
Man, the DQ finish.
You know what it is?
Even if it was Murray and Scotty Matthews?
You never got a dick pic from Brett Favre.
I did
And
not.
that's why you're mad.
The bitterness of not getting that.
That's why you're
He
mad.
had the number and everything.
He said your name on the interview, so I got to assume he had your number. That's ridiculous. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys doing the show. Anything else? Oh, I wanted to talk about. You guys watch UFC?
A little bit.
Fucking Fabricio Verdun. You see, he submitted Big Nog,
I didn't see it. I read about it.
Antonio Minotauro, Nogueira, whatever the fuck.
Yes.
Verdun. I love his name. I hate
Yeah,
that motherfucker because he
great
beat Fatal
name.
with a
A great fighter name,
Verdun.
though. Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
So
Though.
it can't be his real name.
Yeah, it's Fabricio Verdun. And it's spelled with a W, though.
Oh.
But that's
So
Brazilian.
okay.
That's how, it's like Vanderlei spelled with a W. But I've hated him since he beat Fedor.
That's right. That was your guy.
That motherfucker.
Yeah, that was your guy.
Son of a bitch. But he might be on the rise, though, since, unless Junior Dos Santos gets a rematch soon against Cain Velasquez. Seems like, because I don't think Dana White wants Roy Nelson to fucking be in the title hunt.
I don't think so.
He don't like that big boy.
No, I kind of we don't get to see all of them because we're booked every Saturday,
Right.
pretty much. But in particular, like when Brock was fighting, we would always get dressed, jump in the car, go to Buffalo Wild Wings or something, because there was Brock fighting, at least among our circle, created a camaraderie among wrestlers.
Yeah.
And, like he was gonna fucking win one for the business
Yeah.
out there. I mean, he was in business for himself. He didn't get
Man, I
fucked.
would have loved to
But he was
see
gonna win one for the business.
what would have happened if he had have never got that Vercutecker like his
Right.
itis shit,
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
the fuck that stuff was. Because he was just different after that.
Yeah.
I think almost dying calms you down. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me on that. It fucking calms the spirit a little bit. Not necessarily your spirit to live, but your spirit to be fucking dangerous.
Makes you wiser.
Yeah. Wisdom comes with a price, especially if you're the one paying for it.
Yes.
Lessons paid for are lessons remembered.
There you go.
There you go. Look
Dropping
at
some philosophy on
that.
them.
Shining wisdom.
We plugged Absolute Justice. We plugged Wrestling with Optimism. Now we're dropping philosophy on them.
Oh yeah, got a little MMA, so that was all good. Thiago Silva back in the winning circle. Eric Silva beat Jason Hyde, but I think Jason Hyde didn't have a good showing there. That wasn't indicative of his skills. But his ass got submitted, so better luck next time. And my buddy is a Carolina boy named Derek Brunson. I've had him on Highway to Helms before. Was supposed to fight on there, and his opponent got in a car wreck like the day of the weigh-ins or some shit, or the day before the weigh-ins. And because he got like a concussion or something, they said he couldn't fight. So Brunson he got pulled, So that was a fucking toughie. That shit sucks. But on a local scene, my buddy Keith, the Final Bell, just had another big victory. So props to him on that.
I'm starting to hear more about the, as you put it earlier, kind of like the independent MMAs are starting to spring up. Like that's a fairly recent trend, but I'm starting to see a little bit.
Well, I don't know how it's been a while, but it's like our business. There's been a lot of people that when MMA popped, that there's some promoters come in, I'm gonna make some money off of this, and they're gonna try to make a show, and then their eyes exceed their wallet, and they end up doing 1 or 2 shows, and then they're fucking done. But so now I think it's kind of promoters are getting on. All right, this is not quite the cash cow we thought. So let's start small and see if we can build something, which is what you should do, and what any indie promotion in wrestling should do too. And that's why Omega's going slow, even though I would love to do a show every week. Just I don't see it happening right now. So start small, little baby steps sort of shit. But that happened in MMA too. When Dana was every week talking about how it's the fastest growing sport, and all that. Now UFC was the fastest growing company.
Yeah.
MMA as a sport still has a long way to go. I mean, boxing's still huge, and I think it's actually helped boxing. When people thought it was going to hurt boxing, I think it is kind of make boxing like a kind of step up and put on fuller cards. Because that's what made boxing suck for so long. The undercard would just be shit,
Mm-hmm.
And even if it was good, it's like it was nobody you was going to see again for fucking 5 years.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember the last time I knew more than one fight on a boxing card.
never,
Yeah.
not unless you are a boxing follower, not unless you
Right.
follow boxing.
Sure.
The casual fan does not. They know that main event of Floyd Mayweather, And he's actually done so good because there's a void. There's a void, and then there's Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Bam! That's the reason he's so hot. He's the only fucking guy you know. Especially since Pacquiao. Pacquiao's still knocked out from that last fight he was in. And that was my man.
He ain't come to you yet.
That motherfucker's still asleep.
Yeah.
But he might not ever fight in America again, he said.
Shit.
Because of the taxes in Vegas. They tax the fuck out of those guys. Because you go to the foreigners get taxed heavier, I said, than the Americans do, I guess. Some shit like that. So he's like, fuck it then. That's why the Klitschko's fight in Europe all the time.
I know when the big fights are, because I have 1 or 2 guys on our crew that will hit me up, and on the night of the fight will ask if they can go first or second. That's how I know when the big fights are.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
Yeah.
You should. I'll commentate this one match, and then I gotta go.
Yeah.
But there's a good knockout. Chad Dawson just got knocked the fuck out in the first round. Not asleep, but he was in the first round. He got hit, and he was just laying on there on the mat, like his head's lifted up, and you can see this motherfucker don't know where he's at.
I would rather be knocked out than look foolish physically. Like,
You rather be asleep?
I'd rather just be asleep.
Yeah.
I don't want the screen cap of me going viral on the internet.
You don't want to be an Elvis leg?
Cross-eyed and no.
There's one Elvis leg video of fucking Zab Judah, and he gets knocked down like boom. He like flatbacks, like he's taking a wrestling belt. It's like so quick. It's like whack. And then he stands up and he's talking to the referee like, motherfucker, I'm okay. And his legs are going every which way. And he falls back down there. The referee's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But it's like he stands up and he's saying like something to the referee like this, like, I'm okay. But you see them fucking feet are just going ape shit. I don't know. I think either way it's got to be fucked up. I'd rather get choked out. Then you just go to sleep.
That's what I'm saying.
You're nice and calm.
Choked or knocked, I would rather be asleep
I fucking get my damn eggs scrambled. I don't know if I want that in my life. Luckily, I've never had that. I've never been knocked cold. I've been knocked silly where I kind of like wake up in the locker room, and I talked about that last week on the show. And like, you think you're at home. You think your ass is at home in bed, waiting on breakfast, from the waitress. And I look up and there's this doctor with his fucking hands on me, and I freaked the fuck out. And I was coming up, boy, get the fuck off me. Because I just scared the shit out of me.
My partner Corey Edsel, I know you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've managed him and all this other stuff forever. We broke in together.
Your life partner?
This is my life partner. He on one of the CWF shows did like a gauntlet match. He was going to wrestle 3 guys and got knocked out on his feet in the first match. It was like boom, 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 3 matches back to back. Got knocked out on his feet on the first match. Didn't come to until the 3rd match. He went through the motions, but had no recollection of the 2nd match at all. And I think that would freak me the fuck out a little bit if I came to. In my mind, consciously, I know who guy number 3 is, and I come to wrestling him, and I don't remember 1 or 2. That would freak me the fuck out, personally.
Well, I didn't come to the locker room, and I don't remember the fucking match. And I'll sit there and watch that match today and go, I don't remember a fucking... Because, we get the TV the next week, and they got the replay for us in catering, and I'm going... And I dove out to the fucking floor, my... body went through the motions, but I was I was astral traveling. You
know who they say would space out sometimes in matches is Steamboat.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. Like, he would, like especially like when he had his gym or
Who would say this?
Like people over the years, like just one of those rumors that you hear.
Not fucking animals?
No. But I've heard.
Thanks for narrowing that down.
I've just heard it a couple different times that like he would space out during matches, but like he would going through the motions would still be better than everybody.
Yeah.
But he'd be thinking about like his gym business or his kid being born or whatever. But going through the motions was still better than everybody else.
He's definitely one of the best baby faces of all time. Yeah. Who's the best baby faces of all time? I think Ricky Morton's very uncredited. I think because of the way.
Outside of the Carolinas, he's very uncredited. Oh, yeah. Here we have a little bit better idea, but yeah,
he's a great baby face.
No, Steamboat would be my number 1.
Sean was a great baby face. Sean was a much better baby. He's a terrible heel, great baby face.
Oh, because he didn't get the true heat. He was just too.
Hey, he outshined his fucking baby face every fucking chance he could.
Yeah.
Let me just bury this motherfucker for no reason.
I never found Sean likable. We've done that. We've talked about that on Wrestling with Optimism.
His character?
I never found Sean likable, man. Like he just.
I don't know if
he just seemed like that cocky little. Even as babyface, he just seemed like that cocky little pretty boy prick, and maybe because I grew up fat, I don't know.
Some of his matches were so good, it was hard to hate him, and that was part of the heel thing too. It's hard to hate him, but he wasn't going to try to get any real heel heat.
I loved him as a heel too.
Yeah, it's because you don't understand heel heat. No, dude, I was the same way. Like I used to think like Arn was this great heel, and I think about it now. I'm like, was he a great heel because I fucking loved him?
Yeah.
Because he was doing spine busters and DDTs and gourd busters, and Tully was out there like eye raking and choking, and I hated fucking Tully, and I'm like.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You know, I never hated on.
That is an interesting point.
You know.
I mean, in that context, Hills can never do anything flashy.
No, you can. And here's where I like to think I did something good with Gregory Helms. I would never do anything flashy unless I had a baby face that could outdo me.
Sure. Okay.
You know,
Right.
if I was in there with Nunzio is not a high spot guy, so I wouldn't do shit. If I was in there with Jimmy Yang, okay, we can rock and roll because I know Jimmy doing his comeback can outdo me. When you're working with somebody, the key word there is with.
Yes.
You're not working them, you're working with them, and sometimes you got to work up a level, and sometimes you got to pull it back. And that's when Flair. That's why a lot of people consider Flair the greatest of all time, because he could work up if he needed to. I mean, in his prime, you know, we're not talking about, you know, TNA Ric Flair, but in his prime, he could work with the greatest, and then he could go out there with fucking Elegante and pull out a decent match. Yeah. And that had to be fucking hard. You know, he could make Luger look like $1 million, make all these other guys.
He was never doing anything flashy. He was just bumping and feeding.
And if he did, you know, if he was going to do something, which Flair never did anything flashy, but Flair was always, especially in the Horseman era, Flair wasn't necessarily somebody I hated either. But he would try to get that heat. He would try to do like rubbing fucking Morton's face on the thing. Now I hated the motherfucker.
That's the first thing I remember.
You know, that was fucking great. Yeah. Now you got a reason to hate Ric Flair, because even though he was cool, I was like, man, he's cool, but that's a fucking dick move, you know.
Yeah.
So even though the woos were always something you would do, he would do it. I mean, that's a babyface kind of not spot, but when you get the crowd doing your shit, that's a babyface kind of thing to do. But then, but he would always have that babyface fucking just over. I mean, he was fucking getting his ass whooped more than the match. A lot of heels, you know, they fucking control most of the match, and during the heat, they're whooping that ass. Even during Flair's heat, man, there'll be fucking 10 hope spots. You know, he would always keep that babyface alive and making sure that babyface looked like the star of the match. And that's why they used him so much, because no matter what territory he went to, he was going to make their top guy, you know, fucking look like a potential world champion. Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, I wish today's audience could really see how great Rick was. You know, I mean, that match him and Steamboat at fucking Wrestle War, Music City, the one he won it back. No, he lost it at Chi-Town.
And what about Wrestle War?
Yeah, fucking that match is just great.
Of the three, that's a lot of people go with the Clash match because it's 56 minutes, but I like the Wrestle
War. No, that motherfucker was way too long.
Yeah, Wrestle War match is the...
No, I hated that because that happened during WrestleMania 5.
Yes, it did.
And that's one of my least favorite WrestleManias of all time. Because before that, there was a moment in time when Ric Flair was the NWA NWA World Champion.
What's that?
What? And did Casey Carlisle have the NWA Women's title the other night? She did?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody told me she didn't have it. And I was like, I thought.
I don't know if she had it the other night. She's had it in her lifetime. I don't know if she has it at this exact moment or not.
Yeah, and that's why she was on the show, was that she was the NWA Women's Champion. I was like, did we make it a title match? Because why I booked the match.
Right.
And like, I don't know if it was. We had one of the shows, I was just like too little butter over too much toast. To quote Lord of the Rings.
You know what I've never thought of until just now is...
Math?
Yeah, talk about the Flair thing.
Go ahead. Hold on. Let me say this, so you might agree with me. Because there's a moment in time when Flair was the NWA champ, Heenan was the AWA champ, and Savage was the WWF champ. Yeah. And in Shane Helms' world, everything was right.
Hogan fucked that shit up for you.
Hogan, that motherfucker. God, I hated that match.
Steamboat was still fine. Steamboat didn't screw up the equation. Hogan's the one that screwed it all up.
Yeah, I still wanted Flair as the champ. But with Henning, Flair, and Savage, boy, that was my shit. I was like, yes, all is right in the world. But then WrestleMania 5 happened. Yeah. Well, Flair lost it first, right?
Yeah.
Did Henning even lose it, or did he just leave?
He lost to Lawler.
That's right.
But I've never
then it all went to shit.
I've never thought before until this conversation, but that's one of the things that we're really missing out on is like Flair going to the different territories.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, that's what they're trying to do with this, with the PWI title. Is send me to different territories.
That's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's the idea behind that. But this fucking belt is heavy as shit.
Yeah.
Like, we need to take some of this shit off, man. This motherfucker, because fans want me to bring my Hurricane belt too.
Yeah.
So they could they love that belt. So, but I'm carrying these two belts around fucking airports and shit, and it's beating my ass.
You bring back the Halliburton or something.
God damn.
But, you know, we've kind of lost that because everything, like kind of what I was talking about earlier, everybody's got their brand identity. You know, even on something like Ring of Honor, you know, the Ring of Honor champion doesn't really go, you know, he takes bookings, but it's not a system where like, you know, Flair would wrestle the best guy in Portland, the best guy in Florida, or at least the guy that were grooming for something,
right.
you know, in St. Louis or whatever. You know, how great would it be if, you know, we had some kind of system or network or whatever where, you know, once a year, you know, Cena will come in and wrestle the best guy in North
That'd
Carolina.
be cool.
You know what I mean? And that this whole generation
pet peeve,
completely doesn't know that.
Any company that has a world champion.
Yes. God, it's so stupid.
Pet peeve.
It's absolutely retarded.
Pet peeve.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
if we progress further and there is an Omega champion or a tag team champions, the shit will not say world.
I didn't even want to do Mid-Atlantic. I had to be when we did CWF when it was originally this Carolina Wrestling Federation, and when they wanted to rebrand it CWF Mid-Atlantic, I didn't even want to do Mid-Atlantic. I wanted to do like the North Carolina champion, the North Carolina Tag Team champions, or whatever. I didn't even want to go. I didn't even want to do Mid-Atlantic.
I drew up an Inter-Carolina championship one time, like
an
Intercontinental.
The two Carolinas.
Yeah, Inter-Carolina.
I'm gonna steal the shit out of that.
Have at it, bro.
Hell yeah.
I never did it.
That's what the television title's called now. We're going to start that shit Saturday.
That's a confusing word to say.
Manny Dinero's going to defend the Inter-Carolina
Well, see, I never understood the fucking Intercontinental title. That's such a stupid thing.
It's the same concept as the world, isn't it? Like, it's
well, initially, it was supposed to be North America and South America.
Yeah.
And then, okay, but now it's all the continents, which is, unless we fucking going to fight in Atlanta somewhere,
Yeah.
then the continents are the fucking world.
Yeah.
And what the fuck's the difference?
You know what I think they should bring back? Especially now you got Cesaro and Sheamus and McIntyre and Barrett. Bring back the fucking European title.
I got it downstairs.
Because I think that would be, well, fucking bring it to the show so fucking Sheamus and Cesaro can wrestle for it.
Or just sign Shanigan and have him defend.
But that belt kept me from being a WCW tag champion. You know that?
No, I don't know that.
Little lobbing wisdom out there.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, me and Lance Storm were in talks to be the tag champions, but because I had that fucking European title, Hurricane didn't need to be a dual champion, which I totally agree with. I said, well, fuck this title, man. I don't want this motherfucker anyway, which I might not should have said.
Right.
Because then I ended up fucking losing the thing like a month later, but like I would have much rather been the tag champs because tag team wrestling is my thing.
Yeah,
you know,
I love that little run with you and Storm too, and like Ivory and Molly.
And we had Molly too. There's one match that we had with the Hardys on one of the pay-per-views, man. It was just one of my favorite matches, you know.
I always loved Storm, but yeah, when you guys put together, I was like, that's fucking team. You know?
Yeah, we had a lot of great chemistry too. And him being my straight guy, fucking worked. You know, during that match too, I would do the thing where I refused to tag normally. I would stick the fist up, so you had to do the Wonder Twin thing. And then I got so into the match that I fucking forgot. So one time when he sticks the fist out, I got my hand out and I fucked up my own shit. And he always brings that up to you. Yeah, remember you forgot your own shit? I'm like, yes, Lance, I remember because you won't let me forget. But yeah, I couldn't. Could have been.
I would have fucking disqualified you for that shit.
Motherfucker. But I could have had a WCW tag title on my resume. But I got 2 WWF ones, so I never held the belt that Demolition had. I wanted that old motherfucker. Yeah. I never held that one. And I don't even know why I chose Demolition out of all of the teams.
The longest running.
Yeah, we have.
Is that?
Yeah, and I have that. We've talked about our Wrestling with Optimism before. Like one of the icebreakers. If I like to get to know the trainees, the new guys, the guys that are just coming to the school. I like to get to know them because like. You know, your character development, your gimmick, whatever you're going to be on the show, I'm going to have a hand in shaping. So I like to get to know the new guys and get a feel for them and you know, this guy would be good for this or that. And one of the icebreaker questions I always ask is, who is the consummate Intercontinental Champion in your mind? Like, that tells me something, because if the guy says, like, Jericho, I'm going to be like, okay. If the guy's like Mr. Perfect, you know, like, when you think of the Intercontinental Champion, who do you think of? And it's like a psychological profile. That answer tells me something about them and their familiarity with wrestling.
So would you consider Savage in that, even though he went on to world level?
Sure. That tells me that you're like a little older. You remember WrestleMania 3. You remember, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I know we asked Mark Jindrak in WCW, said, man, who'd you like growing up? And he goes, Jericho. And I was going, wow. What are you, fucking 12?
The funniest thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
Who's fucking good? I want to bring fucking Jindrak to damn Omega or CWF. We might have to do a weekend.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Booking.
I think the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life was the first episode of The New Tough Enough, where the girl was like, "What's your favorite match?" The girl was like Melina against Alicia Fox, and Austin like wanting to commit a crime but knowing the camera's on. Like, that's one of my favorite moments in life.
You don't know this, but he had a brain aneurysm right during that fucking moment. I don't think he even knows it.
I believe it. If you freeze frame it, you can see it.
You can see his body, his mind, his soul, everything was in conflict going, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
I will stun your ass. Oh, that was fucking ridiculous. That's such a joke that still goes on. Like, people ask me, I still on Twitter to this day, what's your favorite match? I'll say Melina against Alicia Fox.
It's weird, man.
Which kind of shits on them a little bit, and I don't mean to. It's just that
yeah.
it's so fucking ridiculous for that person to say
man,
that.
The
and then she gets hired, though. She gets a contract.
Yeah. The generations have turned over a little bit. Like, you know, me and Corey and Grant, and I know you, we always talk about, like, what independents were like in the 90s and blah, blah, blah. And, like, a lot of the guys that I've got at CWF now weren't even, they were born in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, they definitely don't remember.
Oh, they're fucking lucky then, because you didn't want to be in the Indies in the
they
early
definitely
90s.
don't remember, like, those Thomasville Armory days or, you know,
Son.
whatever.
Before the pop, before the big pop, the Big Bang Theory in wrestling happened, fucking the Indies were awful. Yeah. And especially if you were a little guy. If you were fucking my size. It was fucking awful. That's why I got the fucking rep, which I'm sure you guys have all heard of me fucking fighting all the time. I had to fight for my fucking life back in those days. Fucking, I can't sell for little man over here. I'm like, oh fuck, here we go again. You know, I'm just out there trying to do a drop kick. You know, I'm out there just trying to have a good match.
I love it though, and feel a little blessed personally. Me and Corey had me and Corey Edgelow joke before that our generation was kind of the last one that was really like brought in by like those guys, like. You know, like the Rick Lake guys that looked out for us and that taught us, you know, the old stuff, like the old, brought in old school or whatever. You don't get that very much because like the generation has flipped over. Where at 29,
it's almost too friendly backstage.
Yeah, at 29 with 14 years of doing this, I'm one of the old guys backstage to them. Yeah. I'm 29.
Look at my ass.
Yeah, but I mean I have been doing this for fucking 14 years. And,
yeah, it's almost guys that are so buddy. That they're not out there pushing each other as much as they should, you know, or you're not saying buddy, because I know in Omega there was a camaraderie there, but I mean we all wanted to be the best, and if we had to go out there and fucking punch each other, we were going to. And I think I see it's not a pet peeve because I don't want nobody to fucking knock each other's teeth out and shit like that, you know, learn what the fuck you're doing, but you know, I think if guys go out there and really kind of just go at it a little more and stop worrying, and like, I'm all about a hot spot, and I talk about this all the time. There's nothing wrong with it, but when that's all I see, it just looks so fucking garbage to me. I'm like, man, why don't you just go punch him in the face?
You know what we call those matches in Burlington behind the scenes? We call those roommate matches.
Roommate matches?
A lot of the guys live together, like they have apartments together, whatever, and there's no fight like a roommate match.
Do you remember
you get all those aggressions out, and you can fucking sock him in the head for fucking, you know, leaving the toaster on all night or whatever, and fucking you can sock him in the head during that match. And those roommate matches are the best fights we have in the context of a match. Those are the best fights in Burlington.
It was always interesting because you know if you fucking stiff somebody that you got it coming, and you got to work this guy a couple weeks down the road, like, oh, okay, I got to fucking be on my game because this motherfucker's going to get me at some point, you know. So I mean, while I had to fight so much coming up, and I'm talking about legit, like we would be out there shooting sometimes, man. Like friendships do form out of that, you know. And bonds are like, okay, well this little motherfucker ain't gonna take no bullshit, and I'm still gonna do my best to sell and make this guy look good, you know. So
these guys don't have to worry about any of that now.
Right.
I never really had to fight because I had been like my dad always took me to shows. That was like our thing. So I had, if you were a wrestler in the Carolinas in like the mid to late 90s. Like, you may not have known me, but I certainly knew you.
Right.
And like, I knew Joey Matthews, and you know, I was so like the guys, especially like in the Greensboro area, all the guys that wrestled in Greensboro knew me. Like, you know, Tim Blaze and all those guys knew me because they knew me since I was 10 years old. So I never really had to fight necessarily, but I definitely had to overcome the stigma of, you know, 6 months ago he was paying.
Yeah.
And that was, but I love the way I was brought in because those guys instilled in both me and Corey, like, you know, respect for the business and respect for the guys that came before us. And like, I don't necessarily think disrespect is taught now per se. I think it's just kind of not touched on. Like, I don't think some of these 20-year-old guys that are working for us now at CWF, I don't necessarily think they were ever sat down, you know, at 6 o'clock before the show like I was and told, you know, okay, that's so and so. He's been wrestling this long. He's been, you know.
I agree. Very big lack of education.
Yeah, definitely. Like Marty Garner was going to fight Manny Fernandez for me one time, my first year in the business. Because Manny fucking threw me out of a locker room, and I had been coming around for years, like taking pictures.
Manny would have whooped Marty's fucking.
I know, but
the
point is Marty was going to do it.
Was this Diesel Marty?
Yes, 2001.
That might have been a fucking.
But it was my first.
It'd been interesting.
I was like a year or two in the business. You know,
Marty will fight that fucking wall over there.
Yeah, but I'd been carrying.
I don't know if I would take that as too big of a compliment because Marty will fight over anything.
Well, no, No, but he didn't have to. Was the point?
Yeah.
Because
I don't think he has to fight
Manny
anything.
fucking threw me out, and everybody got quiet because all the guys knew me. And he was like, well, somebody want to fucking take up for that kid? And the story, people told me later, Marty stood up and goes, yeah, I'll take up for that kid. You know, I like that kid. And Manny goes, well, shit, I was just fucking with him. Calm the fuck down. It was a rip on me. But I'll never forgot that Marty stood up. But he didn't have to do that.
That's
you
cool.
know? I never forgot that Marty stood up and was like, yeah,
That's
he might
another-
kill people, but I'm here.
But another thing I don't like in wrestling Indy nowadays is there'll be motherfuckers in the locker room that don't need to be there.
Yeah.
And that happened at our last Omega show. I'm like, who are all these motherfuckers? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
This is where I'm getting dressed. This is our fortress of solitude. This little room.
The door's opened too much over the past decade.
There's guys, girlfriends, and shit coming over here. I'm like, dude, listen, I'm getting to pull my dick out, okay? And it's probably more impressive than yours. So if you don't want her to see it, it might not be more impressive, but to me, it impresses me. It's only when I've really played.
More impressive than farms.
Yeah. How do I rate?
From the pictures I've seen of both.
God almighty.
So anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of that fucking girlfriends fucking coming in the locker room. I'm like, and I'll try to be nice and say, hey, I'm getting dressed, you know, just letting you know, I'm getting dressed. So if you fucking watch, it's up to you. But I'm fucking about to get dressed. But I'm really kind of saying, hey, there's fucking guys getting naked in here. Once you get like, I don't want Karen in there. Right. Yeah, I mean, she might see somebody's dick more impressive than mine. And fucking Shelton Benjamin in the locker room. I don't need that shit on my conscience.
You never know.
Yeah. I don't need that shit. Bad News Brown.
Look, Tennessee stud. You never know.
Why do we know these things?
Why do we know these things?
That doesn't say a lot for us.
This conversation's
Doesn't say a lot.
We go back to Jim Booty because I don't like where this conversation's gone.
I love Jim Booty. See that shit?
I don't like where this is gone.
You want one of these?
Yeah, I'll take one. I'll give one to my wife, actually.
There you go.
Why should be on there?
I think this. Yeah. You got a picture?
No, man. Just Facebook.
I might have one.
You got one?
Don't worry. I was gonna say because if you don't got none, I got a couple. Shit. Well, anyway, we're cool. Let's wrap this up. Let me throw this up one more time. Just take this title off. Y'all know who they are. Well, the audio version doesn't see it, but at Stuttsy, STUTTSY on Twitter. At Statmark, STATMARK, because you keep a lot of stats. I'm guessing. Did you write that encyclopedia?
Yeah, that'd be all me.
Am I in there?
Yeah, you worked that one show last year, finally, after 12 years.
You don't have my run-in when I did the Russian assassin and broke my fucking finger?
That was not Shane Helms. Because that Shane Helms may or may not have been under contract.
He was under contract.
I was. That's why I put that mask on.
I didn't know if we could say that.
I broke my fucking finger. Saturday, June 15th in 1001 Springwood Avenue, Gibson, North Carolina. That is the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium.
Yes, sir.
I got it right. Absolute Justice. CWF247.com. It is your 352nd show.
Yes, sir.
That is fucking amazing.
7:30 p.m. sharp.
7:30 p.m.
The first person through the curtain will be Shane Helms, kicking things off.
Yeah.
Hosting the show, Daddy.
That's what I'm talking about. So I'm commentating and hosting.
Hell yeah.
Double pay.
That's right.
So that means 2 cases of Mountain Dew. Like a motherfucker. But thanks again for doing the show, guys.
Thank you.
I want to be on Wrestling with Optimism at some point in the future. We can talk more about DQs and countouts. Do you like countouts?
It's all in the context.
All in the context. There you go. It's all in the condom. Well, thanks everybody once again for watching this show. Heaven forbid, it's Highway to Helms.